it's my greatest honor once again to welcome you to Africa Day 2025 at AFLEX.
Happiness, everything my life no stress.
Good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to AFLEX Day 2025 at AFLEX here, Africa Day at AFLEX here at the Davos of Ethiopia, ladies and gentlemen. May I please ask every single one of you to rise and join us as we sing our national anthem as well as the anthem of the African Union. Please rise and stand at attention. We're going to be joined by the Federal Police Marching Band.
በድጋሜ የፌደራል ፖሊስ ማርቺንግ ባንድን ከልብ እናመሰግናለን። Special thanks to the marching band of the Federal Police. Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. It's with great enthusiasm as well as honor that I welcome you all to AFLEX Africa Day 2025 conference here, hosted by the beautiful, lush green Sululta Center. And amid the fresh eucalyptus trees, ladies and gentlemen, we love to smell, surrounded by the lung of Addis Ababa and Toto Mountain. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my greatest honor to welcome you here, excellencies, representatives of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, representatives of Women and Social Ministry of Women and Social Affairs, and excellencies, ambassadors and members of the diplomatic corps, and excellencies, other high-ranking officials representing the Ministry of Defense, as well as His Excellency Abebaw Bihonegn, IGAD Head of Mission in Ethiopia, and His Excellency Mr. Zadig Abreha, President of AFLEX, as well as the entire leadership at AFLEX, and Mr. Fuad Genna, President of the Youth Council, representing the vibrant voice of Africa's youth, as well as our future leader innovators. Where are the youth? Can I hear the youth? Excellent. I want that energy in this room because that's what we need in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished panelists and moderators who have taken time out of their very busy days to share their expertise, knowledge, and experiences here while we have the youngest and the brightest minds in the house. And of course, distinguished young people, leaders of the future present here, ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It's my greatest honor once again to welcome you to Africa Day 2025 at AFLEX. How about a round of applause for our guests and everyone, another one, a better one. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I go on, especially young people, if you are making any social media posts regarding Africa Day here at AFLEX, please use the hashtags. Oh, it's me on the screen. There is a hashtag, different hashtags on the page, on the screen. Please use those. And I suggest you also add hashtag the Africa we want when you make any social media post. We want to swarm the world with African conversation. Now, please allow me just a few moments to set the tone before I go into the first program. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today we celebrate Africa Day, making 62 years since the founding of the Organization of African Unity. It is a day to reflect on our shared aspirations for unity, progress, and resilience across the continent and the concerted effort to build the Africa we want as part of Agenda 2063. This year's African Union theme is Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Repatriation, and aligning with that, AFLEX's theme is Visionary Leadership for Inclusive Quality Education in Africa, Advancing Justice through Knowledge and Empowerment. Ethiopia's historic role, as you know, as the birthplace of Pan-Africanism provides an inspirational background for our discussion here today. And our gathering brings together policymakers, scholars, and experts, and the youth yourselves, and the civil society, as well as international partners, and the diplomatic community committed to shaping Africa's future through dialogue and innovation. And AFLEX, the African Leadership Excellence Academy, this beautiful, expansive place, founded in 2021, it is Ethiopia's flagship institution for nurturing visionary African leaders as well as capacity building, whose inauguration I personally had the honor to host in June 2021. The center offers programs in executive, public, and women's leadership as well as strategic projects such as Sululta as Davos. This, mark my words, ladies and gentlemen, in a few years, will be the Davos of Africa, if not just Ethiopia. Now, today, AFLEX hosts the Africa Day 2025 commemoration, an important platform to explore education's role in fostering inclusive growth, digital innovation, as well as sustainable development. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with this, to bring us all together, we have a very special performance, which is going to be performed by Tekebel Traditional Band, and they are going to perform two things at the same time. They're going to be playing the famous Jambo Bana, and then they're going to go into playing Harambe Harambe. Then we'll get to our officials' speeches. And before I go on, please note that if you have at any point any challenge in communicating with us in English, we have translation provided for you through your headsets. Please make sure you use those. But during the discussion, if you feel the need to speak in Amharic, to ask your questions or make suggestions in Amharic, feel free to do so. Translators will support us. I will be here to support you as well. በጊዜውን ለመቆጠብ ያው ሙሉ ቀን በጣም ሰፊ ፕሮግራም ስለሆነ ያዝ ነው። በአማርኛም በእንግሊዝኛም እያደረግነው ከሄድን ሰዓቱ ስለማይበቃን እንግሊዝኛው ላይ ፎከስ እናደርጋለን። ግን ትራንስሌሽን ትርጉም ስላለ ካስፈለገ በጠረጴዛችሁ ላይ የትርጉም ዲቫይስ ስላለ እሱ እንድትጠቀሙ በአክብሮት እጠይቃለሁ። Without further ado, I'm going to leave the floor for Tekebel Traditional Dance. Tekebel ይቀጥላሉ።
pamoja, harambe harambe, tuimbe pamoja, harambe harambe, tuimbe pamoja, tujenge serikali. Wengi walisema Kenya itakuwa matata, wengi walisema Kenya itakuwa matata, wengi walisema Kenya itakuwa matata, watu wote wastaarabu. Wananchi harambe, tuvute pamoja, wananchi harambe, tuvute pamoja, wananchi harambe, tuvute pamoja, muongoze na usalama. Watu wa Kenya hatuna ubaguzi, watu wa Kenya hatuna ubaguzi, watu wa Kenya hatuna ubaguzi, kila rangi tunaipenda.
Hakuna matata, hakuna
Kuna Matata, thank you so much. Yeah, I love this song. Well, someday, feel artistic enough to write something that can be done in Ethiopia. If you go to Kenya, I'm sure you had that experience. They sing Jambo Bwana to welcome people, and it's beautiful, right? Jambo, Jambo Bwana. I have that sense you're Kenyan, are you? Excellent. Thank you so much, Tekabel. Give him a round of applause, please, one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please join me in welcoming His Excellency Mr. Zadig Abreha, President of the Africa Leadership Excellence Academy, AFLEX, for the official welcome remarks. Please give him a round of applause as he comes up.
Your Excellencies, Honorable Ambassadors, esteemed leaders, partners in the African Promise, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. It is with deep honor and unwavering conviction that I speak to you today, not only as official of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, not only as the President of the Africa Leadership Excellence Academy, but as a servant of the cause greater than any position or title, the cause of education. The cause of Africa's future. We gather here today under a theme that is not ceremonial, it is rather existential. Education for all, empowering Africa's future. This is not a conference theme, it is a test of our resolve, our leadership, and our legacy. We are here to honor the steps taken. Africa is moving. Before we speak of what must be done, let us take a moment to acknowledge what has been done. Across our continent, governments have made courageous, visionary efforts. Ghana's free senior high school initiative has created a new benchmark. Kenya's competency-based curriculum is reshaping education for a future economy. Rwanda, once ravaged by genocide, now boasts one of Africa's most effective foundational learning systems. South Africa is investing heavily in digital learning and skills for the fourth industrial revolution. And I speak proudly as an Ethiopian. Ethiopia too has chosen the path of bold educational transformation. The Ethiopian commitment, education as a national mission. In Ethiopia, we are not treating education as an expense, but as a national survival strategy and a civilizational mandate. We are working on expanding universal access to primary and secondary education with an intensified focus on reaching rural and pastoral communities. We are reforming our curriculum to prepare learners not just for exams, but for life, citizenship, innovation, and leadership. We are investing in teacher training, rethinking vocational education, and enhancing the quality and accountability of school leadership. We are revamping our higher education and research institutions to better align with national development priorities from agriculture to artificial intelligence. We are placing girls' education at the center, not just as a social issue, but as an economic and moral imperative. We know education is not only about the future, it is a foundation of peace, productivity, and prosperity today. Introducing the Africa Leadership Excellence Academy, a school for servant leaders. As part of this broader national and continental commitment, allow me to introduce an institution I have the honor to lead, the Africa Leadership Excellence Academy, which hereinafter, AFLEX, is not just a place, it is a promise. A promise that Africa can and must rise its own generation of ethical, excellent, and future-ready leaders. Founded by the government of Ethiopia as a continental institution, AFLEX was designed to address one of Africa's greatest needs, not just a school for the people, but a school for the stewards. We coach, equip, and mentor a new type of African leader, rooted in service, not ego, guided by systems thinking, not slogans, driven by public purpose, not personal gain, focused on unity, transformation, and delivery. Because Africa does not suffer from a lack of ideas, it suffers from lack of leaders who finish what they start, who serve rather than rule, who build, not just belong. AFLEX is committed to becoming Africa's forge for public sector excellence, a home for learning, leadership, innovation, and cross-border collaboration. We call on partners here today, governments, development agencies, academic institutions, to join hands with us, because educating a leader is educating a million lives through them. But still, Africa needs to do more and as we have a paradox of wasted potential. Excellencies, as we celebrate our progress, we must confront a hard truth. Our over 100 million African children are still out of school. Girls in rural areas still drop out before secondary school at alarming rates. And our continent, though rich in youth, remains poor in learning outcomes and underfunded in education system. This is a paradox. We have vision, but not enough velocity. We have talent, but too little transformation. We have policies, but we need powerful political will and public investment. That's why I want to extend my gentle reminder and a firm call for action. So today, with full respect and solidarity, I offer a gentle but uncompromising appeal to my fellow leaders. Raise education budgets and protect them in tough times. Train, pay, and reimagine education for digital age and the jobs of tomorrow. Place girls at the center, not the margins of education planning, and invest not just infrastructure, but in inclusion, innovation, and aspiration. Let us stop treating education as an item in the budget. Let it become the very heart of our national vision. Distinguished guests, education is not just a line in a plan. It is a line between chaos and order, between fragility and prosperity, between dreams deferred and dreams delivered. Let this be said of us years from now. They came together not just to talk, but to turn the tide. They gave not just speeches, but solutions. They chose not just a reform, but responsibility. They were generations that made education for all, not just a slogan, but a legacy. Let us make that legacy together. Let us build a continent we long for. One child, one teacher, one classroom, one leader at a time. Thank you. May the torch of learning we light today illuminate every corner of Africa for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Please thank him for me. Thank you so much. That was His Excellency Mr. Zadig Abreha, President of AFLEX. Well, getting us started was sharing AFLEX's role as a Pan-African leadership hub, as you've already witnessed, and the importance of celebrating Africa Day in the time of change. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by a number of the youth, including their leaders, and we're joined by our next speaker, Fuad Genna, President of the Ethiopian Youth Council. So without further ado, let's hear what the youth have to say. You know, we have lived more than half of our days, and we have yet to come the times of the youth. Let's hear it from the youth. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Fuad Genna to the podium.
His Excellency Zadig Abreha, the President of this prestigious academy, His Excellency Abebaw Bihonegn, IGAD Head of Mission of Ethiopia, His Excellency David, the AFLEX board member, Your Excellencies AFLEX leaders, distinguished honorable ambassadors and diplomatic corps, distinguished delegates, esteemed panelists, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, my fellow young Ethiopians and Africans. It's with immense honor and a profound sense of purpose that I stand before you today at this historic gathering hosted by the African Leadership Excellence Academy, a prestigious institution deeply rooted in the ideals of the Pan-African unity and visionary leadership. As I address you not only as the President of the Ethiopian Youth Council, but as a voice of millions of young Ethiopians, I am reminded of the dreams we all share, dreams that deserve the power of education to take flight. Education is the cornerstone of our future, a tool that can unlock the potential of our vibrant youth and transform our nation and the continent as well. In Ethiopia and across Africa, the young people are eager to learn, innovate, and lead. Yet, let us be honest, our educational system does not keep pace with our potential. We face outdated curricula that fail to address the skill needed in today's job market, overcrowded classrooms that stifle learning, and undeterred teachers who struggle to inspire. Additionally, marginalized communities, especially in the rural areas, remain excluded from the educational opportunities. For countless young Africans, access to education often feels like a distant promise rather than a present reality. Despite these daunting obstacles, we persist. We create solutions. We build startups, tutor one another, and dream of a future where education is not a privilege, but right fulfilled. Across the continent, the young people are not waiting for change. We are actively creating it. From 5 million coders initiative in Ethiopia to fintech startups in Nigeria, and from green tech initiative in Kenya to creative hubs in Senegal. We are proving that innovation is our language and entrepreneurship is our power. Digital learning has emerged as a key equalizer, especially in the wake of the pandemic. We have witnessed the transformative power of technology in education, allowing us to connect, collaborate, and learn in ways we never thought possible. But to truly scale this potential, we need more than just access to technology. We need substantial investment in the digital infrastructure, comprehensive training for the young people, and policies that recognize the youth as innovators and leaders in their communities. So, what we do, the youth of Africa expect. 1, we expect to be heard, our voice amplified in every decision-making forum, from local up to the international platforms. Our insights and experiences are invaluable in shaping policies that affect our lives. 2, we expect educational institutions to embrace modernity while preserving our rich cultural identities. Education must reflect our histories, our language, our values, and ensuring that we are not just passive recipients of knowledge, but active participants in our own narratives. 3rd, we expect our government to finance education not merely as a budget line, but as bedrock for peace, democracy, and prosperity. Education should be viewed as an investment in collective future, fostering a generation that is equipped to tackle the challenge of tomorrow. We expect policies that link learning to employment, curricula to real-world challenge, and degrees to dignity. Our educational system prepares our young people for the workforce, bridging the gap between what we learn and what needed in the job market. Most importantly, we expect accountability. Today's declaration must translate into tomorrow's action. We will hold our leaders accountable, ensuring that the promises made here today lead to tangible changes in our community. As we align our aspirations with the Agenda 2063, let us emphasize the critical role of the young people in this vision. Agenda 2063 envisions an Africa where the young people are at the front of sustainable development, where education empowers us to become the active contributors to our economies and societies. It recognizes that investing in the education is not just a moral obligation, but a strategic necessity for the continent's progress. In this spirit, we, the young people and the youth leaders, advocate for the Meddemer, a concept of synergy that calls for collaboration across all sectors. This means uniting our efforts with the grassroots initiatives that empower local communities. Grassroots movements are the backbone of our societies, often driving change from the ground up. By supporting these initiatives, we can harness the creativity and the resilience that resides with our diverse populations. Let us not forget the power of Meddemer. By working together, the youth, the government, the educational institutions, the civil societies, and the private sectors, we can create an ecosystem that nurtures innovation and fosters sustainable growth. It's through partnership that we can share the resource, the knowledge, and the best practice, ensuring that no one is left behind. As we look to AFLEX, the African Leadership Excellence Academy, as a symbol of what is possible, an institution born from reform, driven by excellence and committed to nurturing African next generation of leaders, we must recognize its role as a catalyst for change. Its initiative should inspire all of our African institutions to embrace similar ambition, elevating education and the leadership to the new heights. Because the future is not merely 2063, it is the decision we make today. Let us leave this conference with more than applause and arguments. Let us live with a shared commitment that no African child will be denied an education, no youth will be denied a future, and no nation will rise without investing in the young people. Education is not a dream, it's a right, it's a duty. And the only way Africa will not rise, but lead. Together, let's forge the path where every young Ethiopian and young African can realize their potential and contributing to thriving and united continent. I thank you.
Thank you so much. That was Fuad Genna, President of the Ethiopian Youth Council. And speaking of inclusivity, we cannot think of growth and development leaving the youth and women behind. And he just addressed that quite substantially in his speech. And now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, our guest of honor, a distinguished speaker, is going to highlight the role of visionary leadership, among many other things he's going to probably address, in promoting cross-border mobility, regional integration, and cultural cooperation across the IGAD member states and the broader African continent in general. So without further ado, it's my great honor to introduce to you His Excellency Mr. Abebaw Bihonegn, IGAD Head of Mission to Ethiopia. Please give him a round of applause as he comes up to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Excellency Zadig Abreha, President of AFLEX, Excellency Masara Desta, Vice Chief of AFLEX, Excellency Dr. Wandie Legesse, Vice Chief of AFLEX, Ethiopian Youth Council President, Youth Fuad Genna, distinguished diplomats, esteemed guests, dear participants, sisters and brothers, fellow Africans, good morning to you all. Before I start my remark, please allow me to make the following remark on my own behalf as an Africanist and especially as an ardent believer in Pan-Africanist. All protocols are observed. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you today in this beautiful campus. Africa Day, we commemorate today, is a day of profound significance. It's a day we reflect the journeys of 6 decades. It's a day we greatly honor the triumph of our forefathers who envisioned the African unity, solidarity, and prosperous Africa based on Pan-African ideals that transcended beyond liberating from the shackles of colonialism. As we commemorate the founding of the Organization of the African Unity, OAU, on May 25th, 1963, now the African Union, we should ask ourselves how much of the visions of the founding fathers have been achieved. What's yet to be delivered? What's work in progress? Over the last 6 decades, Africa has overcome enormous challenges, from the struggle against colonialism and freedom from the apartheid rule to the fight against poverty. We have witnessed economic renaissance, improved social services, to democratic transitions. We have demonstrated time and time again that African solutions for African problems. We have come far, in my view. Yet, much more work remains. Peace remains elusive and a luxurious commodity in the most part of our region. Poverty and economic challenges are still dragging us. Above all, solidarity, continental integration is yet to be realized. But we remain hopeful, as Julius Nyerere said when he was in Addis Ababa in 1963. He said, "We did not come here to find out whether our desire to unity. We've come here to find out our common denominators in our approach to an African unity. Our continent is the origin of mankind. It's the home of the pyramids. It is the source of the ancient wisdom of the Timbuktu, etc., etc., etc. It's a continent full of mosaic of languages and mesmerizing cultures, shared values and customs. It's a continent known for the abundance of natural resources. Most of all, as mentioned earlier, it is the youngest continent, about 90 years old median age. This huge potential of growth, provided that this demography is supported through education in various forms, starting from eradicating literacy, and shaped by the virtues of African ideals. We should turn this dynamic demography towards productivity, innovation, and as a propeller of continental growth and regional integration. We should harness the enormous potential of our continent with shared vision and solidarity with the ideals of Pan-Africanism. That's why this day is important day to pause and reflect, to recommit and foster unity of purpose for the Africa we want. The Africa we want, integrated, prosperous, and peaceful. Therefore, as Kwame Nkrumah said 60 years ago, I would say and repeat, Africa must unite. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, primarily for being here, and then also for delivering such a very, very important and powerful message. And how you wind up your speech is also outstanding. So, ladies and gentlemen, with this, we're going to go for a group picture first, then we're going to go for a coffee break. And once we have coffee, we're going to come back for the second session, which is Policy in Practice, a Continental Call to Action, a high-level panel discussion, which is going to focus on from dialogue to implementation, which is going to be moderated for us by Dr. Tefsit Solomon. So without further ado, sir, if you could please lead your guests on the stage so we have a commemorative picture with the background on stage.
Dear Excellencies, Honorable Ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am Dr. Tefsit Solomon from Ministry of Women and Social Affairs. I am the Chief Executive Officer for Policy, Strategy, Research and Studies. I will be leading this next session, which will focus on policy in practice. We will have a policy in practice session which will focus on from dialogue to implementation. So we will have His Excellency Mr. David Valid, who is AFLEX board member. His Excellency Mr. Abebaw Bihonegn, IGAD head of mission to Ethiopia. His Excellency Mr. Zadig Abreha, President of AFLEX, and Dr. Gashaw Aifaram, Researcher and Director General for Training and Policy Consultancy Knowledge Management at Institute of Foreign Affairs. These are our panelists who will join us for discussion. All right, so we will proceed with our panel discussion on policy in practice, which will be from dialogue to implementation. So before we go to specific questions, let me give 1 minute for each to introduce themselves.
Good morning. It's an honor to be here. I am from the private sector. My name is David Valid, a Pan-Africanist. One that I hope... Thank you so much. I have great faith in the youth. So it's an honor and a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I think I have shown myself earlier. My name is Abebaw Bihonegn. I'm the IGAD head of mission to Ethiopia. But I'm here not just an official capacity, but as an Ethiopian, as an African, and as one of you who believe ardently in Pan-Africanism. I thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Gashrai Faram. I'm from the Institute of Foreign Affairs. I'm African Affairs researcher at the Institute. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Zadig Abreha. I'm from Africa Leadership Excellence Academy. Thank you.
So, thank you very much. Before we go to specific questions, I want each of you to reflect on what is the importance of celebrating such day together for African unity and in creating the Africa we want.
The fact that we are speaking here today about our problems, about the past, and what we envision tomorrow's Africa will be, that is the biggest part of the solution. Each and every one of us are here voluntarily because we have a vision of a better Africa, of a united Africa, I believe, yes? Hence, this is the beginning. Thank you, it's an honor.
Africa Day, I don't know how many Africa Days that I have celebrated when I was young. Ethiopia is not just the founding member of the African, the OAU, or the 60 years ago. Ethiopia was the backbone of the African independence. It's not, of course, we're the only country that had never been colonized. However, Ethiopia has supported several African countries in their struggle against independence, against colonialism, and free from apartheid. Ethiopia hosts the African Union, the OAU. Ethiopia has hosted several Pan-Africanist leaders, their movements. However, I am not that confident that many of the young generation, or myself when I was young, that are much aware of Ethiopia's contribution, the value of African Day, the values of Pan-Africanism. So celebrating this, of course, it's important to appreciate a profound contribution of our forefathers, the founding fathers, but also it's also to pass baton to the younger generation to understand what has gone through, how far we have come, how far Africa has achieved collectively, and how much is left behind. So this is an important reflection, and celebrating the day, commemorating the day, would give us the opportunity not just to understand, but also to explore what more we can do in collectively. As someone who came from a regional organization, we believe in regional integration. We believe our problems are best solved when they are addressed collectively than individually. We Africans are divided by artificial borders. Some communities, same language, same identities, are partitioned in different parts of sovereign lands. However, the society shares values, economic interests. So to address our challenge, it's better that we do it in cooperation, in collaboration, in hand. So this day would remind us the importance of solidarity and the ideals of Pan-Africanism. Thank you.
Thank you. As my fellow panelists mentioned earlier, celebrating African Day is very important, as I consider it a necessity, particularly to rethink our past, and also to think about also our present and to forecast our future, because the battle of the old days are still there. Majority of African countries, if you remember, in the 90s, 60s, gained their independence, but that independence, from my point of view, is not a complete one. Many African countries still are struggling for their economic independence. They just gained their political independence in the 1960s. Still, there is struggle for economic independence. Again, there is also new battles. In my point of view, Africa is in a struggle for freedom, and also it is also reclaiming its rightful place in the global political economy. So celebrating African Day is about rethinking the past, and also to take or to draw lessons from the success story of our forefathers, and also to finish or to complete the unfinished battles, a battle over idea, a battle over economic independence, a battle over issues like identity and others. Therefore, for me, celebrating African Day is important for such reason. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Africa achieved its independence against all odds, against an insurmountable challenge. So I believe this in its own right is worth celebrating. But, you know, the world order, the entire global system has never been in favor of Africa the past 500 years. What the past 500 years offered Africa, with colonialism, slavery, whatever. So the fact that on May 25, 1963, African countries came together and gave birth to the Organization of African Union, African Union or African Commission, was by its own right a big thing. But I think it makes even more sense to celebrate it now, because this is like what is at stake in this global order is the future of humanity, the future of the planet. What is the future of humanity? What, you know, the ringing tone in the room elsewhere in the world is what is going to be the relationship between humans and machines, humans and artificial intelligence. So what is at stake is the fate of the humanity, the fate of the planet. At a time where the human society, the human beings need to come together and respond to the challenge of the day, division in Africa doesn't make sense. But coming together as Africans is very difficult because there are systemic issues placed in, so for Africans not to come together. And of course we have our own self-imposed problems. So if we are going to remember that we are not 54 fragments, we are one nation, we are one continent, one destiny, we need to come together and celebrate who we are, but it's not just for the sake of celebration. So for me, African Day is a reminder of who we are, what we have overcome, and what we still owe ourselves, and what we are capable of becoming. And I believe we are capable of becoming in a way that by far exceeds what we are doing in many sectors, including education. So I believe this is a day of gratitude, but this gratitude should be with inward honesty and forward unstoppable drive and move. I believe, and when we celebrate African Day as this whole, we will have that resolve to change things for the better for all Africans, including Ethiopians. I think this is a very special day for all of us. if not to the world, because it heralded a note of optimism to the birth of a new continent, a new free continent. And the fact that Africa is part of the functioning global system has done a lot to the well-being of to a functioning global system at the cost of the continent itself. I think so. This is not simply a celebratory act for Africans to come together and commemorate the birth of this Africa Union. Should remind us that we have a lot to do. Of course, we have come a long way, but there is a long overdue, and we need to come together and deal with what is to be done. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. You have all highlighted a very important aspect of today's celebration, passing our achievements, what Africa has achieved so far to the young generations, so that they understand the importance of the achievements and address our challenges together, not individually, and coming together, uniting together to address the challenges we are going to face. Those are important points, and there are economic independence we have to achieve as well. Let me go to specific questions. The first question is for Your Excellency, Mr. David. So, in regard to creating enabling environment for quality education, how can African government and regional bodies remove legal and structural barriers to integration?
Thank you. Your Excellencies, brothers, sisters, guests, I have to be frank. We're speaking of the freedom of Africa. How many of you here believe that Africa is free? I do not believe Africa is free. I am not free. When my name is Ngwengwe and I call myself James, when my name is Mwelu and I call myself Veronica, when I go to my courtroom and I have wigs with black cloaks, I am not free. That is not me. When my leaders are agents, I am not free. I am sorry, I'm not free. We have to solve this problem first. Our leaders have to be gauged by the poorest and most impoverished members of society, not by the few cronies. If there was 5 millionaires and now there's 50, it doesn't help me. My people are not free. If my land gives me more by using my indigenous trees as fertilizer, and I insist to bring fertilizer from abroad, which destroys my land and gives me less, I am not free. To be free, I have to be independent financially. I have to be aware of my surroundings and have the freedom to use it as I wish, not as others tell me. Others cannot know what is good for me or my children, but I have allowed them to so far. This has to stop. My generation has failed. African leaders have failed. This is the generation that's going to fix it. It's here. I may have not answered your question, but I had to make it stop.
So, my next question is for Mr. Abebaw Bihonegn. What practical milestones have IGAD and the AU achieved in fostering regional cooperation, mobility, and unified policy frameworks?
Okay. It's going to be a bit technical. Continental integration. When the day we celebrate, when the OA was celebrated, the vision was one united, to have a united Africa, or United States of Africa, or union government. Then in that process, in 1991, OAU adopted a treaty called the Abuja Treaty, which envisaged one economic community, Africa Economic Community, through which regional economics were established to build upon African regions to bring one united Africa, one economy that includes full movement of people, goods, and services. Then after that, AU recently also adopted AU protocol on free movement of persons. IGAD has one on free movement of persons protocol. And several member states, including Ethiopia, have signed on the protocol. Ethiopia, South Sudan, Uganda, I think Somalia, they have signed. So we have benchmarks. We envision, so there are steps of free movement of persons. One is to gradually remove visa restrictions to allow citizens to travel freely, stay in other member state, at least for 90 days. Then the second is free movement of labor. The third phase is the right of residence. The fourth is right of establishment. These are mainly parallel to the African Union protocol to free movement of persons. But these decisions, as mentioned earlier, are made by individual sovereign member states' willingness, political will, to adopt, ratify such measures. So IGAD, we hope in next year, and in 2018, the first step would be adopted by our member states, which is free movement of citizens in the region, gradual removal of visa requirements. For this, it requires reviewing our immigration laws. So our immigration should be compatible with our member states, our other neighbors. You know, some regional economic communities, for example, if you go to ECOWAS or SADC and EAC, have achieved some of these issues that we talk about, regional integration. And IGAD, you know, our region is troubled by several conflicts. So there are milestones that we need to address first, and then, but however, we have a strategy, we have a roadmap to have a more integrated region, but we focus on socio-economic development that brings us to, in the end, to a more robust regional integration. Thank you.
Well, my next question will be for Your Excellency, Mr. Zadig. What institutional, political, and social conditions are necessary for effective leadership and policy implementation across borders?
It's an interesting question. I think it's at the heart of everything. Leadership matters. You know, whenever people say, if the talk of the day is about education, and one would say education is at the heart of everything. Like there is this conventional wisdom to put the matter of the day at the apex of everything. Like I'm not repeating that conventional wisdom. When I say leadership matters, if I have to rate any human invented institutions vis-a-vis leadership, I would rate it number one. I'm not just as I have to reiterate, I'm not lending myself a conventional wisdom. I truly believe in and the power of leadership. So I think, you know, in the old days, great leaders are phenomena, like events. They come and go. They are one, you get them once in 100 years, once in a millennium. The great Alexander II, and the Egyptians never got, I mean, the Greek never got that kind of leader back. And their old glorious days is gone with the wind, was gone with the wind. So whenever one seeks to deal with leadership development, the effort should be, how can we make great leadership a day in, day out phenomenon, great leadership in the business, great leadership in civil society, great leadership in public service, great leadership in the international public service, should be the question, should be the one that seeks an applaud answer. And the best way to do so would be, I believe leadership development is an ecosystem, a coming together of many things. It's not a one thing. There's no single silver bullet that gives birth to any institution capable great leaders. It's an ecosystem. And the first thing, I think, the first thing should be a policy design. A leadership development is not a dark shooting. It's not a fishing expedition. You need to lead it with policy clarity. That policy clarity should be there in the first place. So once you have a leadership development policy, and the second thing to do would be an institutional design. You know, we have, for example, in Ethiopia, we have human resource departments across all public sector, even in the private sector. But you don't find a leadership development department. But it's very important that you have this kind of institutional setup to deal with it. And once you have these two things put in place, you need to have a leadership development practice. For example, what we are doing here in Ethiopia, I believe it is true across all Africa. I believe it is also true across all Africa. What we do is we offer trainings, PowerPoint pointed training, which is, I would say, a practice that is as old as 2 decades. I mean, the practice that is only relevant somewhere 2 decades down the line. I would say, for example, these days, leadership trainings are gamified, and in a way, so practicable and based on the challenge of the day. So it's not just a training. It's training is simply part of the package. If you look into what Harvard does, the Harvard School of Leadership Development, they have 12 leaders. They employ 12 types of activities in their leadership development programs. And training is simply one of these 12, not only 12, one of the 12 mechanisms. It has only got a share of 5% as far as the role of these 12 mechanisms are compared. So we are relying on something, on one of these 12 mechanisms solely to develop leaders. Not only that, the mechanisms that we are solely depending to develop leaders is the least effective. So we have to transform from leadership training to leadership development. It's one thing to develop leaders, but you need to throw these leaders, trained, developed leaders, to the practical world. And the question is, then how does your leadership development extend itself in the practical world? And there comes a leadership development, Leadership Excellence Award, where you reward the outliers and punish the bad ones, those are not performing as per the expectation. But leaders are expected to, leadership development is not a one-time act. It has to be done all year round. So as a result, you need to have these idea generation centers whereby the leaders come, meet with devil's advocates, civil societies, academia, the private sector, and grapple on the most pressing issues of the day, so that leaders would be exposed to ideas that they wouldn't be exposed under normal circumstances. It would be the meeting of minds that never happened before. It's like the Grand Strategy Institute at Yale. The institute brings together practitioners, policymakers, academia, civil society, devil's advocate, and it gave birth to a number of great grand strategies for America, for the US to maintain its global order, its grip on the global order. I believe Africa needs the same. And the last thing is, a leader is not someone that, a leader is not an academician. A leader is interested in selling his ideas, her ideas to millions, if that is going to happen. Like, leaders need idea dissemination centers. They're like, not like a one-way media, a different, a podcast, one would say a podcast, or whatever kind of form it may take, but leaders need to have platforms where they will be able to exchange their ideas and disseminate to a wider audience, but in a deep dive manner. And then you need also leadership forums, informal and formal leadership forums. You need a leadership retreat programs where leaders come together, exchange, network themselves informally and formally. I believe these 7 activities, 7 things put together can give us to a functioning and comprehensive leadership development ecosystem. But it is not the case in Africa. It is not the case in Ethiopia. And here at the African Leadership Excellence Academy, that's what we are trying to do. It's a very heavy task. It's like trying to push the Everest. It is like trying to make it to the top of the Everest. It is as mounting and as challenging as that. But I think the fact that we come together to deliberate on these issues like the African Day and other programs, I believe the enlightenment, the feeling for the need for this kind of intervention will ameliorate, will increase by the day, and at some point in time, there will be a consensus, an African-wide consensus for Africa to embrace a leadership development ecosystem. We are partnering with like Mandela Institute at Pretoria in South Africa to do the same thing. We are trying to increase the awareness of African leaders, the African Union. We are also working with Pan-African Capacity Building Foundation, the Kofi Annan Peace Institute, many Moroccan, Tunisian institutes, in spreading these ideas so that there will be an African level awareness and then an African level action. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The last question will be for Dr. Gashau. How does regional integration contribute to peace, justice, and economic resilience?
Okay, thank you so much. From my point of view, regional integration contribute for peace, justice, as well as economic resilience through different means. One, regional integration can create interdependence. And when there is interdependence, countries will opt to cooperate in various sectors instead to go war. This may align with the democratic peace theory. For the other reason is for comparative advantage. Countries may focus on their comparative advantage. Take us, for instance, the East Africa or the Nile region, for instance. Nile, as you know, is one of the source of geopolitical tension among the riparian countries, particularly Ethiopia and Egypt. But if there is a genuine regional integration or genuine cooperation, Nile will be a geopolitical transformative tool for cooperation, for regional integration, if countries of the region focus on their comparative advantage. For instance, if Ethiopia focus on hydropower, because it has the potential nearly 45,000 megawatts, which is the second largest in Africa next to Democratic Republic of Congo. Sudan has large regable land, which is this comparative advantage, may focus on irrigation. Egypt has comparative advantage in industrial production. It may use electricity produced from Ethiopia, which is also less expensive and cheap. And other countries of the region may also focus on their comparative advantage. For instance, Somalia has untapped blue economy potential, particularly because of the largest territorial sea. Djibouti has also geostrategic potential or significance. It can capitalize this potential, particularly on port development and other issues. Kenya has also its own comparative advantage. If they focus on these issues, on their comparative advantage, if they specialize, then this will add value. Again, we will also create or accelerate regional peace. So regional integration can push countries to focus on their comparative advantage. They will specialize on a particular product on which they have a comparative advantage. This will gradually lead us to an interdependent region, or what we call a security community, maybe like the European countries. This will gradually lead us to the creation of value system on which the regional integration will deepen. One of the challenge, for instance, for regional integrations in Africa is the lack of a common value system. Because when you speak about Africa, there is a number of differences. And for any regional integration to be successful, first, there should be common value, or what we call value system. If you see from the political perspective, countries of the region or across Africa have different kinds of types of regimes, which may be difficult to create a common value system. But if they focus on the economic regional integration first, it will also push them to create a common value system, and that will also contribute for the creation of, I think, a security community. Second, I think the regional economic communities have their own normative framework, including also the Africa Union, and this normative framework can be also used as a tool for advocacy, for instance, for justice or for human rights at the continental level. Because members of the regional economic committees or the Africa Union are required to adopt the normative frameworks adopted by the Africa Union or other regional economic communities, and they should also implement that normative frameworks. And these normative frameworks can be used as a reference, even by domestic institutions, including courts, including also advocacy group, maybe human rights groups or youth group or other group, which gradually will push state to comply with the normative frameworks adopted by the regional economic communities, whether it is IGAD, COMESA, or East African Community, or at the continental level, Africa Union. I think through this mechanism, regional integration can contribute for continental and regional peace. If they focus on their comparative advantage, and if they specialize, they add value, and if this gradually create an interdependent political economy, regionally and also continentally. And if we are successful, if we successfully adopt and implement the normative frameworks adopted by the regional economic committees, also at the continental level, the Africa Union. I think those are some of the factors.
Thank you very much. We all have highlighted a very important and critical points. Mr. David have highlighted on the freedom and the independence Africa has to have. We have to work towards being independent, especially from several points of view. And the African Economic Community creating unity and removing barriers, and then especially regarding visa and immigration policies. And a very critical points have been raised, as well as leadership issues. The leadership matters very much because it determines lots of things, and in regard to policy design, institutional setup, and the others, and especially in following transformative leadership development rather than focusing on training is a critical issue raised by our panelists. And finally, interdependence, creating interdependence and strong relationship is very important for Africa, and especially genuine regional integration is very important, so that lots of issues and challenges can be solved smoothly, and several examples have been raised. And I thank all the panelists, but before we wind up, I would like to take 2 questions, 2 minutes for each, and we will make it clear that for whom your question refers to.
Thank you very much for the informative panel, and for your opinion about all the questions that was raised. My name is Topia Talahon. I'm from the Institute of International Education. My question is to all of them. I just want to hear their opinion. So in Ethiopia, Africa, we talked about policies. So in Ethiopia, Africa in general, we have these beautifully written and strong policies in place. But one of the challenges that we have is implementing these policies to practice and effectively. So what are some of strategies that we adapt into to implement these policies to practice, so that we can bring the solution that we aspire for? So this is for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Biyene Amansisa. My position or military rank is colonel. I came from Defense Research and Development Center. First of all, I would like to thank all the panelists and the moderator. And I feel a great honor, really a great honor to speak about to speak and reflect my ideas on the African issues today. My ideas are comprehensive ideas, both reflection and the question. Just let me start from my reflection, critical reflection. Most of the time we are talking about the African transformation. Of course, it is good. The transformative power, one of the transformative power is education and educated people. The base for transforming. What is transformation? System change. This system change cannot be achieved by slogan. It should be achieved by action on the ground. So, to bring or to transform Africa, the base is education, educated people. So, having said this, to transform Africa is the main thing what we have to focus on is on the intellectual. So, my question is, what policy design we should follow or implement to reduce the brain drain Do you see? This is the basic issue to transform Africa. Africa cannot be transformed, as I said, by slogan, by intellectuals. Our intellectuals are abroad. Our intellectuals are in America. Our intellectuals are in Europe. Who can transform Africa? Really, this is a critical point. So, what the policy design for 2063 to achieve to achieve the goal of 2063? What prerequisite should fulfill to achieve our 2063 goal? So, this is my question. Thank you for attention. For those people, maybe, እኔ ያልኩት ምንድነው ባጭሩ የእውቀት ፍልሰትን ሳናቆም እንዴት አፍሪካን እናሻግራታለን ነው። Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aflex Africa Day. Thank you for hosting this great day, and thank you for all the panelists. And they actually mentioned very brilliant points. And I would like to comment on the African integration process, which is mentioned by Ambassador Abebaw. He mentioned that there is role model examples for us as Africans to follow in some parts of the regions, including the SADC and ECOWAS and EAC. So IGAD is trying to follow that example of freedom of movement at least, as well as visa demolition system, that we as Africans, we don't need visa to travel from Sudan to Ethiopia and from Djibouti to Somalia or from Eritrea to Kenya or Uganda. That's the easiest issue to handle because we have examples. The second thing, we have in the African Union Agenda 2063, in the second 10 years plan is to silence the guns by 2030. It used to be 2020, now it has been transferred to 2030. And on this issue, we need to be in solidarity with each others. Whenever there is a crisis in a country, we need to all, as a region, to support that country until that gun is silenced. That's not going to be achieved while we are standing or backstabbing each others. Whenever there is a foreigner, outsider from other region coming to try to divide us, we need to remember if this actor from other region, for example, the Gulf, comes and divide us today, he comes tomorrow to divide other country or to divide other region in Africa. So we need to stand together to say to them, hey guys, stop. We don't allow you to provide drones to attack a neighboring country. We don't allow you to transport mercenaries to attack another country in Africa. Stop here. If you need partnership, go ahead. If you need to harm our neighbors or our brothers in Africa, we stand very firmly to stop you from that. The last point is the issue of empowerment of youth and women. And after the president of the youth talked, I was expecting the representative of women to come and talk as well. And still I see the representation is in talking is a little bit low. But this is, I think, a key issue to address it in order to achieve our Africa Agenda 2063, because it's a main pillar in those agenda to empower women and youth together. So when we say youth is including women, but when we say women, it's not including youth. Women, we have to let them stand alone to represent themselves. Then after that, we bring the youth also. So towards those agenda, I think my colleague from Foreign Affairs raised a very valid point also regarding the regional integration. And he mentioned the Nile cooperation. As we are in Sudan, have 3 Niles. Maybe a few of our colleagues here don't know that, because we have Blue Nile, White Nile, and the confluence of the 2 Niles in the Nile, the big Nile. We call it, when it meets the blue and white, we call them in Khartoum the Nile. So we are always saying that we have 3 Niles. Why we call it here Abai? It's the Blue Nile in Sudan. So that, I think, is an opportunity for regional integration. As you mentioned, in mega power projects, hydropower projects, freedom of movement, with the use of natural resources regarding the vast lands, agriculture. There's a potential for food security in the region. We need to make it advantage for the region, for East Africa, to be the food basket of the region, using the water, the vast land, the agriculture, the young people that we have. That's why I used to talk in a IGAD workshop recently, telling them, why don't you make this visa issue, like we don't see those who are displaced from country to other as foreigners. We put them in camps. Why don't we feel that those are citizens moving from country to country as moving from region to region? Not consider them foreigners, not put them, call HCR or IOM to come and oversee them. Let them move, let them work, let them invest in our countries so we can make full use of these human resources for the whole region, not only their countries. So that's going to help us in leading this regional integration towards a new era of cooperation and synergy between the African countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just want to say that the moderator has played a good for the first question asked for Mr. David. I just want to react from this point because, as you know, nature has its own reasons how to behave or how to act. The question addressed to Mr. David, and the answer was, in fact, globally speaking, it's about the weakness of the African spirit. And he told us that we need some fertilizer to African soils. And he says that the external actors don't know about our needs. In fact, what I am trying to say is these external actors, they do really need what we need, but they don't want to let us know about it. They know our needs, but they are acting opposite to our needs. They don't give us the opportunity to act as we know. The question now is about how the weakness of the African spirit. I will not use seeing from my own country of Algeria, but as Africa as one, I will use another one from Ghana. This is a legend of Sonkofa bird. That is something about the legend associated with the idea of learning from the past to build the future. And it's a concept that encourages revisiting history, underlying history and heritage of Africa. The world is also represented by a bird symbol with its head turned back while its feet face forward. It is trying to move past, symbolizing, in fact, the importance of looking back to move forward. There is the question for Mr. David, because he was the one who was asked about that. What is the importance of visiting our Africa past? And this is only as a final advice. We don't need only fertilizer for soils, as symbolized Mr. David, but we also need fertilizer for African minds. Thank you.
So
Madam Moderator, now can we, in the interest of time, just take 3 questions from 3 young people, 1 minute each. Yes, 3 young people. ሁለት መጀመሪያ እጅ አወጣችሁ አላችሁ አንድ ጊዜ ሁለት እነማን ናቸው መጀመሪያ እጅ አወጣችሁ እዚህ ጋር? No, there is a girl here, but አንተ ነበር ካንዱ አንዱ ሌላ ማን ነው? አንተ መጀመሪያ ወጣው? Are you sure? 1 minute, please. Let's because we have another panel and we have to break for lunch.
Thank you very much, moderator, and thank you very much, Your Excellency. Such a great informative session. So I like the idea of that has been mentioned by His Excellency Abebaw about the artificial borders. And now with the AFCFT coming on board, I believe that this is the time to discuss about education, because AFCFT had 3 components. One is trade in goods, trade in service, and free movement. Of course, we can have trade in goods, but we need a young generation well educated to transform world's natural resources buried underground into products. We need to stop as Africans sending raw materials. Now we need young people that can transform the manufacturing, that can transform industries. And we need to stop sending coffee just to bring back Nescafe. We need to stop sending mining like stones, shea butter, and taking it back through Victoria's Secrets. We need that kind of generation equipped in the mindset, not okay, I got graduated, I need to go to the employment sector, get a job. We need a generation, we need an education system that transforms our mentality to think, okay, I graduated, I can have my own business, I can have my own industry that can change, that can contribute to the country GDP. And it all relies in our education system. And we need an education system that changes our mentality towards peace. We need our history books to change, preaching hatred. We need peace, and start simply from our history books. And we need a system that guides our education system to focus on our colloquial, contexted problems. We don't need to learn the Western problems to solve African problems. We need to learn about African problems to give African solution. And that should be where our education system aligns with. And what we need to know, where my question lies is, where do we find ourselves as young people in IGAD, in the private sector? Because we are very happy that the private sector is coming, because we need a user-friendly finance mechanisms. We need to go to banks, and when we say, I have this amazing business plan, we want a private sector, we want a finance system that doesn't see our age, but our ideas. We want to see a finance system that says, okay, I don't ask you for a house, I don't ask you for a car. Come up with the plan and let's finance it. So where do you find us in your structures? Because we want to be a contributor. We need to stop young people to be just recipients, but we want to be contributors. So where do you find us in the structure is my question. And definitely one of the assignments is we want the Ethiopian Youth Council to have a seat in the parliament, because that's where we advocate for education, for transformation. Thank you very much. My name is Abigail Ndala. I work as a program coordinator in Youth Network for Sustainable Development.
That was a very powerful, I would say, session by itself, but the next panel definitely is on youth, so they will address it, but gentlemen, you will address it as well. And because we are Ethiopians, and we have a foreigner here who's begging for 1 minute, can we give it to him? Just 1 minute. It's 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. Today I'm happy for here. Some question for Zadig Abreha. My question is, how can young people become effective leader in the community? Because the second question is, why is it important to include youth in the leadership decision today? The third question is, what is the role does not education play in development future leader in Africa? That's my question. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wandamaganya Lamayo. I'm working All Together Ethiopia, an international NGO. So when I see the meeting hall, the most populations are Ethiopians. So I should have to ask my question in Amharic. So my question is for David. አፍሪካ ውስጥ ብዙ ሰው ነፃ አይደለም፣ ግን ደግሞ ነፃ ያልሆነበት የራሱን የቻለ ምክንያቶች አሉት። ግን አብዛኛው ወጣት ከረንትሊ የምናየው ያንን ነገር ፈልጎ የሚያደርግ ነው። ከዛ ነገር ያንን ወጣት እንዴት ማውጣት እንችላለን? ሁለተኛ ለሚስተር አበባው ብዙ ጊዜ ኢጋድ ሪፕሬዘንት የሚያደርጋቸው አካላቶች እነዚህ የአፍሪካ ቀንድ ሀገራት ዙሪያ ላይ ያሉ ናቸው። ግን እንደ አፍሪካ ቀንድ ደግሞ በጦርነት ከኤዱኬሽንም በፊት ፒስ ስለሚቀድም ነው ፕራዮሪታይዝ ያደረኩት። ሶ ምንድነው መፍትሄ እንደ ኢጋድ ብዙ ጊዜ እነዚህ የአፍሪካ ቀንድ የሚታመሱበት ምክንያት ሲቪል ዋር ነው። ሶ የኢጋድ ፋንክሽናሊቲው ምንድነው? ኢጋድስ ኮንትሪቢዩት እያደረገ ያለው እነዚህን ችግሮች ለመፍታት በዘለቄታዊ ለመፍታት እያደረገ የሚገኘው ሂደት ምን ላይ ነው ያለው የሚለውን ነገር ነው። ሶስተኛ ጥያቄ ለአፍሌክስ ፕሬዝዳንት ነው። ብዙ ጊዜ የአፍሪካን ኤዱኬሽን ሲስተም የተበላሸ ነው እንላለን። ግን ምንድነው መጀመሪያ የተበላሸው ነገር ምንድነው? ምክንያቱም ብዙ ጊዜ የአፍሪካን ኤዱኬሽን ዌስተርናይዝ የሆኑ አይዲዮሎጂዎች ስላሉት ነው። ግን የአፍሪካን ኮንቲኔንት ኤዱኬሽን ሲስተም ለመፍጠር እንሞክራለን ኢንክሉዲንግ ኢትዮጵያ። but the same thing we are fail. What is the problem of the education system? Thank you.
በጣም ይቅርታ አካል ጉዳተኛ ኢንክሉድ ማድረግ ስላለብን ነው። አንተ የመጨረሻውን አንድ ደቂቃ ተዘጋጅ። እዚች ጋር ሶ
አመሰግናለሁ። ቴንክ ዩ ቡጋለ አበራ እባላለሁኝ። So I have short and precise my question. I'm disabled. So I'm asking for is how do you plan for a 2030 agenda in encouraging or developing or to encourage of the leadership of disabilities? How do you ግልጽ ለማድረግ በአማርኛ በጠይቅ ደስ ይለኛልና በአጋጣሚ አቶ ዛዲግ አብርሃንም እዚህ በማግኘቴ በጣም ደስ ብሎኛል። ብዙ ጊዜ ማከብራቸው በቃ በሀገራችን አሉ ከምላቸው ጥሩ መሪ ናቸውና አካል ጉዳተኞችን ወደ መሪነት ከማብቃት አንፃር ምን እየተሰራ ነው? አፍሌክስ ምን ሰርተዋል? ለምሳሌ አሁን በየሀገራችን እያየን ያለነው ነገር አለ ማለት ብዙ መሪዎች አሉ፣ ግን አካል ጉዳተኛ አንድ እንኳን መሪዎች ወደ ላይ ከፍ ያሉ አይደለም፣ እየመጡ አይደለም። ምንድነው ምክንያቱ? አፍሌክስ ምን አጥንቷል ይሄን ዙሪያ? ለምሳሌ አካል ጉዳተኞች መሪ መሆን አይችሉም ወይ? ወደ ላይ መምጣት አይችሉም ወይ? ምንድነው ችግሩ? የትምህርት ነው? የብቃት ነው? የምንድነው? ይሄን ነገር እንደው በቀጣይ የቤት ስርዓት ሆኖ ቢታይ የ2030 አጀንዳም አንዱ ይሄ ስለሆነ እዚህ ጋር ኢንክሉሲቭ ተብሏልና ኢንክሉሲቭን ማየትስ አያስፈልግም ወይ ማለት ነው። ተዋውሩም በኢጋድ ውስጥስ ምን አለ? በእኛ ዙሪያ ምን እየተሰራ ነው? ከማብቃት አንፃርስ በቀጣይስ ምን አጀንዳዎች አሉ የሚለው ነው ገለጽ ተደርጎ ቢነገረን ነው። አመሰግናለሁ።
My name is Jonas Anko. I am a final year of political science and international relations at Addis Ababa University. My question is to His Excellency Zadig Abreha. You mentioned before the need for a comprehensive leadership training, which you stressed on your 7 points. But what is actively being done to sift leaders from their early days? As we all know, not every individual becomes a leader at some point of their lives, but still we see that capable individuals that we look up to that are not getting the opportunities, not meeting their expectations. So these reasons are, the reasons are, for example, not attaining opportunities or even being elected opportunities. So what is AFLEX actually doing to manage all these things? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the questions. I know there are other valuable questions, but for the interest of time, we'll bring it back to the stage. And we have 2 questions for all the panelists, but the other questions are for each panelist. So I will only, we will respond to the 2 common questions at the end, but we will go to the specific questions to each of the panelists. Yes. Let's start from.
Thank you. Okay. From past experience, my brother asked me, what can we learn? Let's make it very short. Failure. That's what we can learn. That's why we're here today. We are told we are free, but we are not. Why? Failure. The richest continent on earth. Can you imagine? Why are we beggars? I will have to give a chance to many. I will keep it there. Fertilizer. You misunderstood me. I didn't say we need fertilizer. I say we don't need fertilizer. We have our own indigenous trees who through thousands of years in Ethiopia, Acacia albida, or in Oromifa garbi, is a tree that we use, that our forefathers have used for farming. Corn that we plant underneath garbi, we get 3.8 tons per hectare. With urea or DAP, we get 2.6. But since we lack this knowledge, we cut garbi and we make it into charcoal, and we bring from abroad nitrogen, urea, DAP. So we decided to go to Addis Ababa University 10, 12 years ago with great colleagues, friends of mine, and let's decide, let's see what urea is. 48, 45, 46, sometimes 50% nitrogen. What is the rest? They're chemicals that scientists put together in order to conquer Africa. The first year is given for free to the farmer. Once that land tastes urea, next year without urea you don't get grass, let alone wheat. So you have put the farmer in slavery, in jail. So yes, my reference to fertilizer was, why don't we go and use what is ours? The next question, very important question, my colleague here, is regarding education. Fancy speeches are useless. We have had many of those. Nothing has come out of it. Today's leaders, I am very sad and sorry to say, you know, if I am permitted, I have to tell you a story. Recently, there was the election of the new AU chairperson. There was 3 candidates, I believe. One of the candidates had put me in a WhatsApp group. I will not mention the name. And in this group, there are 4 African leaders. There's a few ministers and many doctors and professors. The aim of this WhatsApp group was to root and support this one candidate. My heart told me, I don't know him well enough. How can I testify to the basis of his character? So I didn't know what to do. So I said, but on this group, there will be many listeners, a few African leaders, some ministers. So let me use this opportunity to express myself of what I think Africa needs. And then at the very end, I'll put, I have hope that this candidate will do this for me. So I wrote the following. What I wrote was what I wish an African leader would be, not what I hoped, because I know this candidate also has had the chance. He's been in power 10 years, another one has been in 20 years. If you couldn't do it in 10, 20 years, I have no hope for you to do it tomorrow. I need someone fresh. So, this opportunity was used by me to basically, it's too long to read, to explain that one of the biggest hopes we have is to pass the baton to the next generation after having created a stage to where there will be a smooth transition, learning from the past without war. Our past is always war. We kill one to go forward. So past experience can tell me that when my generation has to pass the baton to the youth, the number one thing I can teach on my side from past experience is to do it in a very amicable, peaceful manner. There are a few traits of humanity in general, but for African leaders to take as number one needed items in their character. Humanity needs humility, integrity. These two things are the biggest tool. Education without these two things are useless. I can be very well educated and I can use my education to hurt my brother. I'll even hurt him more by being educated more. What does education mean? If I don't have integrity, humility, it doesn't help me. Then realizing that today's education system, as my sister put it very well, it is set up to make me believe in a certain way. It doesn't tell me the truth. Our true history is not told by us. It's by historians who decided, maybe in England or in New York or in Rome or in France, what my history is. No, they don't know my history. If I wasn't a failure, would 14 African countries have their money named franc? Why franc? And who decides how much your franc is worth? Not you. It's decided in Paris. I am not free. It's sad. You may not see it, but I have tears in my eyes. Inside, I don't feel good. I am not free. Formalities. We speak about many different ways which we should do things. Inside our hearts, we know what we must do. We know it. We have to get up and we have to practice it. The first part of education is to go home and teach ourselves that we have to be honest. To teach ourselves that she's my sister, she comes first. If she does the same for me, together we don't need passports, visas, any of this. This is where I teach myself first. You know, we all know what we need. Lately we have this practice that we have adopted. Formalities, meetings, minutes of the meetings, agenda of this, agenda of that. What comes out of any of these meetings? I don't have results on the ground. I'm sorry, but I think that to go into every detail of every question here is useless because I know that you're much more intelligent than I am. And I thank you so much for giving me this honor to express myself here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much once again. I'll try to address, I think there's one specific question on ACFTA, on integration, but I would like to also to chip on some of the issues. As we today emphasize on education, I just want to give my personal opinion on education. My understanding when we say education is important, because knowledge and skills are very important to get over with poverty, backwardness, and ignorance. But my understanding of education is not just about having degrees or many degrees, or going through these prestigious schools and institutions. Education for me it starts. It's not just, I know this setting is more educated setting. For me, education starts at home. First of all, eradicating illiteracy, eradicating ignorance. At the farmer level, at the pastoralist level, at least people should be able to have some basic literacy to deal with their own daily life. That's where it starts. Then every child should have access to school. Every child may not be able to join universities, have degrees, but at least no child should be left behind having no school, having no basic literacy skills. So it is incremental, and it should be based on problem solving, enhancing problem solving skills. So local, any education, any student which reach to higher level, first must know his neighborhood, his country, his society, his people, his continent. That's how it's incremental it should be. However, we should also, there's no right to underestimate the nature of knowledge. Knowledge is international, global. Science is not specific to Ethiopia. Science is not specific to Africa. We have some global knowledge, global theories, global science. Mathematics is not specific to a specific region or a specific country. So it must be a comprehensive understanding of education. Education must not undermine our local knowledge. When we refer to Western education, we're not undermining, I'm not undermining in entirety that Western education is not important. But it shouldn't come at the cost of substituting, so in a substitution of my local knowledge. I shouldn't undermine myself, my identity, my society. The skills, probably centuries old, the skills of our farmers. Skills that have been invented well before science has learned how to do it. So it is, I think, we should be able to grasp all these things together to appreciate the value of education. On the brain drain, I know there are some friends of mine who argue against, for example, in the case of Ethiopia, saying that there's no much brain drain. I know I have a social scientist friend who says brain drain is not the major issue. That I will leave that argument. However, I think we know in this, at least in the era of issues of deportations, those who have good skills, good knowledge, are secure to stay. That's a form of brain drain. But what I would suggest is, in this world where we are connected very well, wherever that important brain is, we can tap it. If we provide the opportunity, if we facilitate access. If someone who's brilliant in NASA, an Ethiopian, if he cares about his country, he doesn't have to move to Ethiopia. He can provide that service wherever he or she is. So life has become, basically, contribution of knowledge has become hybrid, in person and virtual. So we should also consider tapping our resources wherever they are, not necessarily bring them back here. We should be able to tap their knowledge, skills, and get connected with them. With that, I think we can alleviate, even though it might not be in entirety, the limitations of brain drain. I just want to, before I get into free movement, the technical part, I just want to make some arguments with my friend David here. He said great speeches are useless. But I can only agree with that. If those great speeches are not supported by deeds, they could be useless. But I think great speeches are very important. The Nyerere and Nkrumah, we're referring to them because of their great speeches. They inspire us. They show us their vision. We're still referring to them. Some of the speeches they have made, we didn't attend them yet. So they show us a vision. If I go to the American context, Martin Luther King has moved in thousands because of his speech, I Have a Dream. He challenged an incumbent president because of his speech. He had more powerful than the president in the White House because of his speech. So it's not the right message to the youth to undermine great speech. What you learn when you learn leadership is one of the impact you live up on is because if you do a great speech, but not a lip service. If you mean to it, great speeches are important, and that's what we refer to leaders way before us referring to them. So great speeches are important, but they must be supported by good deeds. If a great speaker is found doing exactly the opposite, then that's not a great speech. So I just want to make that straight on the record. Free movement of persons. These are legal treaties. Are legal instruments. They have to go through a due process and implementation roadmaps. And they naturally prerequisite some basic, so if a person is permitted, for example, let's take the other region, SADC or ECOWAS. There is a free movement of people, but they have one common ID, established and shared immigration system in place. So the standardization is very important. In the absence of basic legal standardization, nations would also have their own insecurities, national interests, and in the end, law and order. So to maintain the national interest and law and order, people who have even if they have the right to move freely, those prerequisites must be established. And I think this is a normative process, both the continental level and at the regional level. IGAD had established a roadmap, what it would do in 2028. We aspire by 2028, all our member states' immigration policies will be harmonized. So we have steps that should be taken over. Then, of course, all in all, it takes the political will of the member states to adopt and accept and domesticate those protocols. Unfortunately, I understand when crises happen, brothers and sisters displaced. They need places to shelter. We should be passionate and compassionate to host them. But that's a bit different from the orderly movement of people and persons and goods and services. I think this also is intertwined with the newly endorsed the African Free Trade Area, which Ethiopia is has also endorsed. In the big picture, if Africa trade with itself, it can save a lot. It can progress a lot. But there are lots of barriers. It's not just a wish list, but there are practical barriers that we, step by step, need to address at the national level, at regional level. But even the raw materials, we can say if agriculture products are wheat, for example, Ethiopia is producing lots of wheat. If Kenya needs, Kenya should be able to buy Kenyan wheat without a third-party currency. This requires, member states leaders to sit and discuss and legislate laws. Political will and some speech are not sufficient. It takes laws for implementation because the international trade needs to be backed by international law and international legal agreements. When it comes to processing raw materials, our own, you don't want to send coffee to Nescafe unprocessed. Great. That also takes us to the education system. Our education system, someone was mentioning earlier, if you've studied, let me give you one example. I have two boys. So in America, I saw kids playing with real snake, actual snake, python. Python is dangerous when it's really big and has developed muscles, but it's non-venomous, which I didn't know. It's a big size python they were playing. They were not scared. So if you take those kids in a biology lab, they will be easy to play with frogs, live animals. How many of our biology students can barely touch a frog in the lab? So I brought natural-like frogs and snakes from the US, and I brought it here to Ethiopia and gave it to my schools, my teachers, my kids' school. And everybody freaked out, including the teachers. So education, if it's not really solving problems, even if you're studying chemistry, if you don't know how to process things, then there is no way that raw materials would be converted to finished goods. Okay? You can mention various examples, but I think for this, knowledge is important, and practical knowledge, supported by practical education, labs, etc., etc. Most of us have educated. Unfortunately, I'm in more of social science. I'm not in a natural science. Had I been a natural science, I don't know how much solution I could provide to the real world. So I think the awareness is there, but I think we need institutions, we need curriculum, we need the mind to be also adjusted towards solving problems so we can process our raw materials instead of, say for example, we import Italian coffee. I get Italian coffee, the capsules. Most of it is in Ethiopian coffee. But, no one is processing that. So that knowledge has to come within, and those you guys who ask the question, you should also ask yourself, how much am I trying to become one, to change this? Thank you.
Okay. On the lack of implementation of policy, I think one of the main problems is the imbalance between the means, those, and also the end. The end is always a policy goal to be achieved, and the means are the tools, the resources that are very important to implement the policy, and those are the strategies. Most of the time, there is imbalance between the three things. Sometimes there is no resource. Sometimes there might be institutional problems, or there might be no appropriate institution for implementing that policy. Sometimes there might be also missing links. Even if we look at the policies, most of the time, they are approached from the traditional sectoral perspective, what we call silo thinking. It lacks nexus thinking. That means it neglects the synergy and trade-off among the interconnected sectors across institutions, and even also across border if we are talking about regional integration or at the continental level. I think one of the major problems for the lack of policy implementation is the making process itself. And I suggest there should be a shift from the traditional silo thinking into a nexus-based thinking that takes into account the synergy and trade-off among the interconnected sectors. If we take, for instance, if we are formulating a policy on migrations, migration has a nexus with climate change, with peace, with conflict, with youth, women, and other issues. If this is the case, then implementation may not be a problem. The other one is a lack of also finance, which is about also the means. If you look at the regional integration communities in Africa, they lack finance. They are highly dependent on external finance. Take, for instance, the AU-led peacekeeping mission. What's happening now in the post-Artemis transition in Somalia? And also in IGAD peace initiatives. This is also directly linked with the issue or the question of ownership. If you have finance, then you will be the owner of that project, that initiatives. If not, you are not. You may implement the agenda or the interest of other external actors. And sometimes policy also maybe make for external legitimacy purpose, just to align domestic issues to international development or issues. The other issue is that I think sometimes policy also may lack software, like human power, like the one raised by His Excellency's leadership is also soft power, even hard power like institutions. These are some of, I think, the factors. Regarding the brain drain, let me add one point. I think a solution for it can be one, if we empower the youth. You may hear that a number of people are now saying that Africa is the continent of the future. They say this by considering the number of the youth and the populations. But youth should be, from my point of view, or at the forefront of the continent of the present, not only the future. Why? We should empower youth. Particularly, I think we have an advantage. Now we are in a transition to a digital world, and at this stage, I think there is an opportunity. If we empower the youth, Africa can compete in the new geopolitical space. And we can leverage this. This can also be a solution for the brain drain. Again, I think we should also revisit Pan-Africanism. If you look at the history of Pan-Africanism, those who involved in Pan-Africanism movement were those who were abroad. They struggled for Africa, they struggled for black people. I think there is a need to revisit Pan-Africanism. With regarding to the resource and the new era for cooperations, I think there is a need to transcend, I think, our mindset, our worldview, including also the culture of violence. I think those issues are a precondition to use our resources, particularly transboundary resources, to be a source of cooperation rather than geopolitical tension. In IGAD or in Africa Union or other regional economic communities, most of the time you may hear that there is any cooperation, peaceful resolution of conflict and such like that. But first there is a need to transcend the mindset, the worldview, that is an obstacle to cooperation. If you look, for instance, at the Nile River Basin, one of the major structural challenges, not only the geopolitical factor, but also the mindset, the worldview we have, particularly among the riparian countries. So we should think beyond the drop of water, beyond the piece of land, and beyond something that is associated with us. I think those are some of the questions I want to address. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I think I have 4 or 5 questions to address, but in the interest of time, I will try to be as much as possible brief. In addressing the question forwarded by my brother is young, he must be one of the youngest in the room, right? She asks me for an advice in how to becoming an effective leader, but that's I would say a 30-day-long lecture to require. But to briefly answer your question, I think the first thing to the first step in becoming an effective leader is to start with purpose and vision. Why are you here? What do you want to add? What thing do you want to get rid of? What do you want to do with your life? So creating a shared vision and starting with your own why should be the first step. And listening before leading is the fundamental thing. Trust is also, and serve, don't rule. Service should be, especially African, is that kind of leadership. And inclusion and respect are the 2 fundamental important values in Africa, I think we most of the time neglect. For one, I have to ask for an apology. A gentleman asked me if AFLEX is doing something in being inclusive of whether AFLEX is inclusive or not in incorporating our esteemed fellows from the disabled communities to be part of our leadership development program. We have failed to do so. So I want to be honest. I have to be honest, and I have to ask for an apology. Helen Keller, Roosevelt, and all those great leaders that have that exceptionally performed very well, and leadership were people with some form of disability. So, if you see the ramp and everything, AFLEX is quite friendly. And I want to take a bold step. I am going to name a committee member, 2 committee members from our side. And if there is anyone representing the Disability Association, please let's come together and do something about this. So from our side, I will name Matthias and Sisai to be part of committee members. So whosoever is interested, please stand up so that they will come in. Matthias, stand up now. So anyone from the Disability Association, including the gentleman that raised that question, that you can meet them up, and then I will be on top of this thing. It's very important that it's very, very important that we deal with this problem. 4 years ago, I was a campaign manager for the ruling party. We have tried to do a lot of things in augmenting the representation of the disability community in our parliamentary seats. And we were not as successful as we wanted because we were unable to nominate a good number of people from that community. So now I want to do something about this. And I'm not just paying a lip service to this. I'm serious about this. So please, the gentleman, communicate to these 2 gentlemen, and then let's do something about this. So in becoming effective leader, I think, a leader can commit himself to a personal development a team development, organizational development, or system level development. You know, in the first thing, in the first step, one needs to lead himself first, lead herself. So, personal development in making yourself ready for leadership is a very important role, a very important thing to do. And the second thing, if you are leading a team, if you are leading an organization, if you are leading a nation or a system beyond even that transcends nations, it depends on who you want to be, So you can commit yourself into leadership development of this fourth tier, or one of the two. But the first fundamental thing is personal leadership development is a very important thing to do. Otherwise, I think it's about passion. It's passion, it's love to what you do, love of your community, love and disconnections, this hatred for the problem, this anger on the existing problems are fundamental things that brings the best out of you, that brings the best energy out of you. In addressing the second question, involving the youth in decision making, I think we should involve the youth for two fundamental reasons. For one thing, for its intrinsic values, you know, involving youth in the leadership and decision making is important because we lose sight of the very nature of this period of time we are involved in. You know, if someone is beyond 40, like if someone is 50-year-old guy and if he's in the policy-making circle, and if he's trying to come up with a draft policy on social media, is there a way for him to have a good grasp of the subject matter? So the involvement of the youth in its own right is a big thing. It's a measurement of modernity, a measurement of development. But the youth should be also involved in decision making for its extrinsic value. Like you can value on the quality of your decisions. The youth has energy, so it's one thing to have a policy, to have a law in the desk. It's another thing to implement it. So for both intrinsic and extrinsic reasons, the involvement of the youth in decision making is quite very important thing to do, I think. And also, I think I have to address this in relation with what David has said. David is a very powerful speaker, but I think in Africa, there are many things we can be disappointed at, but we have also come a long way. It looks like his idea of Africa is like a total failure. I don't think that's the case. We have a lot of problems to handle, but we have come a long way. So this day is about celebrating what we have done so far, and also, and stay truthful to ourselves in what has remained, we have a long overdue, we understand, but if we are disappointed at this level, we may give up. And the second thing about urea and everything, understand fertilizer should be organic. Understand there are a lot of alternatives, but I think this kind of categorical dismissal will have an impact on our farmers until we provide our farmers with alternatives. If this thing spreads on social media, it has a serious consequence. So I think David should come up with alternatives soon, show us the way, and once he proves us, then we can both talk about, all of us here, I think we can talk about dumping urea, and then other things, and then focusing on the solution David has provided. But that has to be tested. Until that, it will affect our farm system, and it may be a problem. I don't think that's what David wants, but it may be misunderstood when it is widely circulated. And I saw some young guys recurring it, and if it's spread, it's going to affect it. So I want you to be very careful with it. I totally agree with what David says, in instance, in principle, but that has to be tested on the ground, proven to be a way of doing business. Then when that is the case, this should be like the biggest news in Ethiopia, because do you know how much we have been earmarking $1 billion every year for fertilizer. If that is the case, that's a big relief for the huh? Yeah, yeah. To open factory, we need more than I think $40 billion or something. So if that is really true, that's a great news. But that has to be proven on the way. And the third question was what I think the question has to do with the problem of African education. I would reframe African education has 1,001 problems, so I can rephrase it into the binding constraint of African education, so that it will enable me to make use of the time properly. You know, there is a massive learning poverty in sub-Saharan Africa. Over 80% of 10-year-olds in sub-Saharan Africa cannot read and understand a simple text. This is a World Bank report issued in 2022. So it's one thing to go to school, but it's another thing to have a learning capability. You know, it is said that a 10-year-old student in the US public school system has a learning capability equal to only 5th grade student in India. So the Indians have a much more learning capability. I'm talking about the American public higher education system, not the universities. They have the best tertiary level education system, but their public high school system is quite a mess. So our problem is not that education. You know, there is a problem. 200 million African children are not at school, but even with those that are at school, when we measure our achievements inscribed so far in terms of learning capability, we are at mess. It's a very big scandal. So we have to change that. So at the heart of our education reform should be reforming, should be increasing the learning capability of our kids. So the problem, I believe, the fundamental problem with the African education system is it's not designed to bring about transformation of the learner, the society, or the economy. It's not geared with the economy. There is de-skilling of labor. If you have a Japanese, an accountant Japanese, he's ready to open his own accounting firm because he has a skill to run a business company. He's not just only good at adding numbers, subtracting numbers, but he has a fundamental skill of running a business. So the labor in Japan is skilled to have its own business. I think the same thing should be done here. You know, if the youth continues to believe in education, if you want the youth to continue to believe in education, then at the end of the day, education should be able to bring the bread and the butter. The problem, and no country, no society can be able to produce enough jobs for the youth. What we can do is, the youth is not a problem. The youth can be a solution to our problems. The youth can generate jobs, not just get hired. And for the youth to be a job generator, for the youth to come up with ideas that at the end of the day will bring about jobs to the other youth, we need to skill our youth with the fundamental skills of organizational leadership, business, entrepreneurship, and everything. If we do so, I think our problems, most of our problems will be changed into thin airs. I believe, again to reiterate, at the heart of the problem of our education lies lack of learning capability. That learning capability should be dealt with. And the second most important thing is combining education with skilling. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, our panelists, and thank you, our audiences, for raising so critical and important questions, and thank you for being patient at this time when we are ready for lunch. And I also like to thank our panelists for the successful and enlightening discussions and answers to those questions. If there are questions which are not answered, and if you have any concerns, you can personally discuss with our panelists later during the networking time. Thank you very much, everyone. That's the end of our session.
I mean, our moderator did a great job, even though she was pressed for time. So please give her a round of applause, Dr. Tifsit. Academy would like to know your experience, how you feel about it. So please scan that code and fill out the questionnaire and give us the feedback about everything. It could be about the center, the event itself, the panel discussion, our panelists, our speakers, the venue, the food, me. Make sure you give us your comments, because they would like to take your comments seriously and they would like to consider your recommendations for improvement, because it's an excellent center and they want to make sure they do everything in a way it's outstanding and excellent, so they can lead by example. So you can, it's gone. You can either scan the QR code on the screen, or you have a small piece of paper, they rotate it. So you can scan this as well. If you don't have it, they will bring it to you. There's always room for improvement. No matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter how educated you are, no matter how successful you are, how good a leader you are, if you're open, there's always a way you can improve. My philosophy, there's nothing perfect. My philosophy, there's always better. So don't say it's the best of anything. The best car, the best girl, the best car, the best whatever, the best speaker, the best MC. No. There is always better. Why? Lemon? Because there is always room for improvement. Yeah? Yeah. So that's why we need your comments. The Excellence Center would like to improve in any way possible. Now that I have your attention, so it looks like this is the maximum probably we could have in the room now. So we're going to move on to the next session. እሺ አይ ቲንክ ተቀበል ባንድ ዝግጁ ነው መሰለኝ። አንድ ከፍኛ የ4 ደቂቃ ጨዋታ ይጫወቱልናል። ትንሽ ነቃ ነቃ እንዲያረጉን የቡናን ስራ እንዲሰሩ፣ ከዛ ወደ ፓናላችን እንሄዳለን። ተቀበል ቡድን ዝግጁ? ሳሚ
ሲሳይ ነው ተባልኩ የምን አስፈቅቼ አስተናገደች ሆና እንዳመሬ የከፋው ቆንጆ ውሸድም ሁሌ ካፊ ሸነነ ነው ሸሞኔ ካፊ ሸነነ ነው ሸሞኔ ሻራ በሸታ የሆነ ካፊ ሸነነ ነው ሸሞኔ What a show!
አንዴ ፖዝ። በጣም በሚገርም ሁኔታ የተነሳሱ ሁለት ሴቶች እያየው ነው እዚህ ጋር ቫይስ ፕሬዚደንቷና ሳሚያ። አዎ አያቶ ዛዲግም ሲጠይቁ ስላየው ነው። ታለንት ያስፈልጋል፣ መውጣት አለበት። ጌዳፕ ጌዲያፕ አንዴ ቸብ ቸብ ሳሚያ። አዎ ማ አምባሳደር እሺ በቃ ኑ። አይ መሲማ ግድ ነው። አይኛ ሊደሮቻችን በእንትን መምራት አለባቸው። we have new talent baby sip አይ አንተማ ታዛሃል። እኔ አይደለሁም ያው እሳቸው አለቃው ናቸው ያዘዙት። እኔ ያለበዛ አይከፈለኝም ደሞዜ አያገባኝም። እኔ ታለንት ካየው አልምርም። አንበሳ አንተ በእናትህ በጣም ምርጥ ልጅ ነህ። ጎትተህ ያመጣ Let's go DJ hit the music Everybody put your hands together. Come on. Jump, jump, Thank you. አንድ ጊዜ ለተቀበል ቡድን አጨብጭቡና አመስግኑልኝ ናሸኙልኝ። አመሰግናለሁ። Thank you so much. እኛ ግን ለሚጨፍሩ ሰዎች ሽልማት ይሰጥ ነበር። ኢግኖር አረንክ። እሺ Thank you so much. ከምሳ በኋላ ሁሌ ስለሚደክም ሰው ነቃ ነቃ እንዲል ነበር። ምግብ ስንበላ ደም ሁሉ ሮጦ እዚህ ጋር ይመጣል ለዳይጀሽን እና ይሄኛው እዚህ ይቸገራል። ስለዚህ ለዛ ነው ቡና የምንጠጣው። አሁን ግን ቡናችንን በዳንስ ቀይረነዋል። እንዴት ነበሩ ዳንሰኞቹ? Thank you so much. So we're going to go into our second panel, which is going to be led by the youth, and it's about the youth generally. And our moderator, my role would be to introduce the moderator and leave the floor for the moderator to introduce the session as well as the panel. So youth panel discussion is on leadership, innovation, and opportunity. And our moderator is Engineer Masfin Desse, and I will try to be brief in as much as I can. Engineer Masfin is International Relations and Partnership Director at Ethiopian Youth Council. He is a prominent young Pan-African leader with a dynamic leadership capacity and knowledge. Currently, he is serving as the Director of International Relations and Partnership at the Youth Entrepreneurship. His passion goes beyond the limits. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Engineer Masfin to the stage. You just had lunch. Do better welcome than that. Let's have some energy in the room. Come on. Thank you so much. And I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting panel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I cannot hear you. Good afternoon. Yes, this is a good sign that you all had lunch. So to start with, my name is Engineer Mesfin Desse. I'm International Relation and Partnership Director at Ethiopian Youth Council. Today, I will be moderating the panel under youth panel under leadership, innovation, and opportunity. And we have a very vibrant panelists today. Even though they are young, please bear with me as I read their bio because they have a very amazing portfolio. So to start with, our first panelist, Samia Abdul Kader, President of Ethiopian Youth Entrepreneurs Association, Chairperson, Alliance of African Youth Entrepreneurs Association, Executive Committee Member, International Alliance of Youth Entrepreneurs Association. Samia is a dynamic young leader committed to advancing youth entrepreneurship in Ethiopia and across the African continent. Through her leadership roles at national, continental, and global levels, she actively champions the creation of inclusive, supportive environments for young entrepreneurs. Her work effectively bridges grassroots realities with high-level policy dialogue, ensuring that young voices are heard in both regional and international platforms. Samia's leadership is defined by vision, integrity, and a deep sense of responsibility towards empowering the next generation. Her tireless efforts continue to shape and move sustainable, inclusive economic future, the one driven by energy, innovation of youth. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Samia Abdul Kader to the stage. As I've mentioned earlier, our panelists have a very long bio because they have a very, even though they are young, they have a very long-standing portfolio. So, ladies and gentlemen, our second panelist, Daniel Tasama. Daniel Tasama is experienced professional with a multidisciplinary academic background in development policy, public administration, peace and conflict studies, and philosophy. He previously served as a lecturer, researcher, and director of President's Office at Adama Science and Technology University. Currently, he is a member of advisory team at Ethiopia's Ministry of Innovation and Technology, MINT. Daniel is also a Mandela Washington Fellow and the Yali Regional Leadership Center alumnus, committed to advancing governance, innovation, and youth empowerment across Ethiopia. A truly impressive bio. Please, ladies and gentlemen, help me in welcoming Daniel Tasama to the podium. Last but not least, Ambassador Sleshi Sal Sumer is a World Peace Ambassador, a Stockholm World Peace Ambassadors Award winner. In fact, he just got this award this week. Congrats, Ambassador, by the way. Public diplomat, social entrepreneur, public speaker, and leadership practitioner. He is ILO, UNHCR, and UNICEF Youth Network Vice Chairperson, Ethiopian Youth Federation Youth Leadership and Public Diplomacy Ambassador, Ethiopian Youth Council member, founder and executive director of Safe Light Initiative. He is well known in his leadership, diplomacy, entrepreneurship, engagement in Ethiopia and globally. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Ambassador to the podium. Now that our incredible panelists are on the podium, my work is basically simple. It's just to create a space for them to actually share their experiences. So, ladies and gentlemen, please once again give a round of applause to my panelists as I join them there. Once again, panelists, welcome to the podium. Okay, so we have the first question is for the three of you. It is a common question. Africa stands at the crossroads where its youthful population could either be a democratic dividend or a missed opportunity. So what does it mean for youth to actually take ownership in Africa's future through innovation and leadership? Let us start with Samia.
Okay. አንተ ስላልጨፈርክ
መልካም አፍሪካ መንታ መንገድ ላይ ነች ከሚል ሐሳቤ ነው የጀመረው። ሐሳቤን ከአንድ ሮበስት ፍሮስት የሚባል ጸሐፊ አለ እና ዘ ሮድ ኖት ቴክን የሚል ግጥም አለው እና ከሱ ልጀምር አሁን የሱን ሐሳብ ለማጠናከር። አንድ ግለሰብ እየተጓዘ በጫካ መንታ መንገድ ላይ ይደርሳል። ስለዚህ ዲሌማ ውስጥ ገብቷል። ወዴትኛው አቅጣጫ መሄድ እንዳለበት ግራ ተጋብቷል። ከተወዛገበና ትንሽ ካሰበ በኋላ በስተመጨረሻ በጣም ጥቂት እግሮች የሄዱበትን መንገድ መርጦ ሄደ። ያም ደግሞ ልዩነት ፈጠረ። ስለዚህ ጭብጡ ምንድነው? አፍሪካ ምንም እንኳን በመንታ መንገድ ላይ ብትሆንም ምርጫ ያላት አህጉር ነች ነው። ምርጫው ደግሞ በአህጉሪቷ ባሉ ህዝቦች ላይ ይንተራሳል። አህጉሪቷን ለማልማት የሶኮል ሰስቴይነብል ዲቨሎፕመንት ጎልስ 17ቱን ለማሳካት አጀንዳ 2063 ለማሳካት የሚፈለግ ከሆነ ምርጫው በእጃችን ነው። አጀንዳ 2063 ላይ አስፒሬሽን ነምበር 6 ላይ ተቀምጧል። እንግዲህ የአፍሪካ ልማት የሚረጋገጠው በራሷ ህዝቦች እንደሆነ፣ ህዝብን ያማከለ እንደሆነ፣ በተለይ ደግሞ ወጣቶችና ሴቶችን ያማከለ እንደሆነ ተቀምጧል። ስለዚህ መንታ መንገድ ላይ ብንሆንም ምርጫው የኛ ነው። የማደግም ያለማደግም እጃችን ላይ ነው ያለው። የአፍሪካ ወጣቶች ምንድነው ዕጣ ፈንታቸው የሚሆነው ከሚለው አንፃር በዋናነት ያው ከልማት ተጠቃሚነት ሚር ሪሲፒየንትስ ኦፍ ዲቨሎፕመንት ወይም ፓሲቭ ቤኔፊሻሪስ ወደ ክሬተርስ ወይም ደግሞ አርክቴክትስ ኦፍ ዲቨሎፕመንት መሸጋገር ይጠበቅባቸዋል። ያ ሲሆን ነው ኮንቲኔንታል ዲቨሎፕመንት ሪያላይዝ መደረግ የሚችለው። በእርግጥ ከ70% በላይ የአህጉሪቷ ህዝብ እንደሚታወቀው ወጣት ነው፣ ከ30 ዓመት በታች ነው። ይሄ ደግሞ ትልቅ ኃይል ነው። እንደ ስጋት መታየት የለበትም። እንደ ሀብት ልንጠቀመው ኤክስፕሎይት እናደርገው የሚገባ ሀብት እንደሆነ መወሰድ አለበት። ከኢኖቬሽንና ከሊደርሺፕ ጋር ያገናኘው አንዳንዴ ትንሽ ኢኖቬሽንን ከቴክኖሎጂ ጋር ኢንተርቼንጅብል የመጠቀም እና ትንሽ ኮንፊውዥንም አለ። ኢኖቬሽን ማለት ኢስ ኖት ኦንሊ አ ቴክ ወይም ደግሞ ኤአይ ወይም ሞባይል አፕ ዲቨሎፕ ማድረግ ብቻ ሳይሆን የሎካል ፕሮብለምስ አሉ በአህጉሪቷ ሎካል ሶሉሽንስ ማምጣት ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ወጣቱ የፈጠራ ሂደት ውስጥ የሚገባ ከሆነ በዙሪያ ያሉትን የማህበረሰብ ችግሮች ተረድቶ ለዛ ለማህበረሰብ ችግር የመፍትሄ ሀሳብ ማምጣት ሲችል ነው። አመራርነትም አንዳንዴ ፖለቲካል ብቻ ተደርጎ ናሮል የሚወሰድበት ሂደት አለ። የአፍሪካ ወጣቶች ወደ አመራርነት የሚሄዱ ከሆነ እንግዲህ የርትዕ ጉዳይ፣ የፍትህ ጉዳይ፣ የክላይሜት ጀስቲስ ጉዳይ፣ የዴሞክራሲ ጉዳይ እነኝህን ሁሉ ነገሮችን በመመለስ ማህበረሰብን ማገልገል ማለት ነው። ሰርቭ ማድረግ ነው ማህበረሰብን። ሊደርሺፕ ኢትስ ኦል አባውት ሰርቪንግ ዘ ኮሚዩኒቲ። ከዛ በላይ የተለየ ነገር የለውም። ስለዚህ በአህጉሪቷ ውስጥ ያሉ 54 ሀገራት እንዲሁም ተቋማት እነኝህን ወጣቶች በትልቅ አቅም ያላቸው ስለሆኑ እምነት በማሳደር አንዳንድ ጊዜ ወጣቶች ኢሞሽናል ኢንቴሊጀንስ ላይ ችግር አለ የሚል አስተሳሰብም ስላለ ሮንግ አስተሳሰብ፣ ይሄ አይነት አስተሳሰብ ደግሞ ትረስት እንዳይኖር ወጣቶች ላይ የሚደረግበት ሂደት ስላለ እምነት በማሳደር የልማት አጋር አድርጎ መውሰድ ይጠበቅባቸዋል ነው። አዘርዋይስ ይሄ ብቻ ሳይሆን ወጣቱም በራሱ ደግሞ በጣም ክሊር ቪዥን ሊኖረው ይገባል። ለአህጉሩ ትክክለኛ አቅጣጫውን ትክክለኛ ወዴት አህጉሩን ማድረስ እንዳለበት የማይረዳ ከሆነ በስተመጨረሻ ቶኒ ሮቢንስ ብሎ የሚያስቀምጠው ሀሳብ አለ፣ ዘ ናያጋራ ሲንድሮም። ውሃውን ቀጥታ እንሄድና አቅጣጫ የለንም፣ ራዕይ የለንም፣ መድረሻችን አናቅም። ፎሉ ላይ ስንደርስ በስተመጨረሻ እንወድቃለን። ኮንሲኩዌንሱ ኬኦስ ነው፣ በጣም ኬኦቲክ ነው። ስለዚህ ክሊር ቪዥን ክሊር ጎል ያለው ወጣት ሊኖርም ይገባል። አመሰግናለሁ። አሁን ቫይስ ሰብስበሻል።
በአማርኛ ነው የምቀጥለው። እኔ ትንሽ ኳስ በመሬት እናርግና ያለነው ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ነው። ደስ በሚለው ሁኔታ ደግሞ ከአዲስ አበባ ወጣ ብለን ሱሉልታ ላይ ነው ያለነውና ወደ ቀበሌ እናውርደው፣ ትንሽ ወደ መንደር ወረድ አድርገን ከዛ ስለ አፍሪካ ምናምን ማውራት እንችላለንና እንደኔ አስተሳሰብ አይ ፐርሰናሊ የፖሊሲ ፋን አይደለሁም። ነገሮች ሁሉ በፖሊሲ ይፈታሉ ብዬ አላምንም። ነገሮች ለመፍታት መጀመሪያ መጥገብ አለብን ብዬ አምናለሁ። ምክንያቱም ሲጠግብ ሲበላ ፍላጎቱን ሲያሟላ የሰው ልጅ በደንብ ማሰብ ይችላል ማለት ነው። ብዙ ጥያቄዎች ያሉበትን ሰው ትልልቅ ነገር እያወራን ጊዜያችንን ማባከን አለብን ብዬ አላምንም። ሶ መጀመሪያ ግራውንድ ላይ ያለውን በምናስብበት ጊዜ ወጣቱ ምን ይፈልጋል? ላይክ የዚህ የሱሉልታ ያለንበት ቀበሌ ላይ ያለው ወጣት ምን ይፈልጋል ብለን መጀመሪያ መጠየቅ አለብን። አፍሪካ መንታ መንገድ ላይ ያለችው እርግጠኛ አይደለሁም። ሜቢ ይሄ ስቴትመንት የተሰራው ከዛሬ ብዙ ዓመት በፊት ሊሆን ይችላል። እኔ ፐርሰናሊ ጄንዚ አይደለሁም፣ ግን ጀነሬሽን ዜድ የሚባለውን ወይ ደግሞ ከ1996 ከአውሮፓውያን አቆጣጠር በኋላ የተወለደው ሰው ወይ ወጣት ምን ይፈልጋል ብለን ዲቴል በምንጠይቅበት ጊዜ ነገሮችን በቶሎ እንዲሆኑ ነው የምንፈልገው። ለወከላቸው ለ95 የተወለድኩት በቃ ነገሮችን ዊዛውት ኤኒ ቢሮክራሲ ዲስራፕት አድርጎ አሁን ነው የሚፈልገው። በቃ ሶ ይሄንን አሁን የሚለው ነገር ለማድረግ ከኛ ምንድነው የሚያስፈልገው? በቃ የፈለገው ነገር መስጠት ነው የሚያስፈልገው። ከዛ ግን ምንድነው ደግሞ እኛ ከወጣቱ የምንፈልገው ብለው ደግሞ ሃየር ኦፊሻልስ ኦር ኤኒ ሚኒስትሪ ደግሞ በሚጠይቅበት ጊዜ ኮሚትመንት ነው፣ ዴሊቨሪ ነው ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ እኔ አምሹር ወጣቱ የሚፈልገው ነገር ማግኘት ከቻለ እንደ ማህበረሰብም ደግሞ የኢኮኖሚ ጥያቄያችንን መመለስ ከቻለን ሌላው ነገር ከባድ ነው ብዬ አላስብም። ኢኮኖሚካሊ ራሱን የቻለ ሰው መጣላት አይፈልግም፣ ሰላም ይፈልጋል። ስለዚህ ድንጋይ አይወረውርም ማለት ነው። ሶ ኳስ በመሬት አድርገን ይህንን ጥያቄ ከመለስን በኋላ ስለ ኢኖቬሽን ማውራት እንችላለን። በዚህ አጋጣሚ ሊደርሺፕ የኔ ቫይስ ፕሬዝዳንት ሁሌ ነው የሚለው አንድ ወንበር ላይ ሁለት ሰው አይቀመጥም፣ አንድ ሰው ነው መቀመጥ የሚችለው። ሶ አንድ ሰው ሲመራ ግን ከኋላው ብዙ ሰዎች ያግዙታል፣ ያጠነክሩታል፣ ሰፖርት ያደርጉታል። ከሚፈልግበት ቦታ እንዲደርስ ሁሉም ነገር ፋሲሊቴት ያደርጉለታል ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ሁሉም ሰው ሊደር ሊሆን አይመስለኝም። ይሄ ቤት የሚያሰለጥነው ለመጀመሪያ ቀን ነው እዚህ የተገኘሁት። ግን የበቃውን ሊደር ለማገዝ ደግሞ ብዙ ሰዎች ስለ ሊደርሺፕ ቢያውቁ ጥሩ ነው ብዬ አስባለሁ። ስለዚህ ኢኖቬሽን ግን እሱ እንዳለው ሁሉም ነገር ውስጥ ሊገባ የሚችል ስኬል አፕ መደረግ የሚችል ብዙ ሰዎችን መቀየር የሚችልና በየጊዜው ደግሞ አፕዴት እየተደረገ መሄድ የሚችል ዌልዝን ክሊር የሆነ ፊውቸርን ክሬት የሚያደርግ ነው እንጂ ኢኖቬሽን ዌስተርናይዜሽን ጋር የሚገናኝ አይደለም። ቴክኖሎጂ እና ኤአይ ጋር ብቻ ሳይሆን ዌስተርናይዜሽንም ጋር አይገናኝም። ሞስትሊ ሞደርናይዜሽን ጋር ነው የሚገናኘው። አፍሪካ መንታ መንገድ ለሚለው ግን ምንም ስለማላውቅ መመለስ አልችልም። ቴንክ ዩ።
All right, thank you for this opportunity to actually address this pivotal issue. Well, African demography is actually a strategic inflection. It's a big chunk of opportunity. At the same time, it's a threat because we have got a big, population of young people who are ready for both the opportunity and for the threat. But coming to your question, I want to bring two imperatives to this panel. One is innovation, the second one is leadership. So speaking of innovation, it's not fundamentally talking about technology. Innovation, it is about reimagining the system, asking the right question. How can we do this better? It is about bringing indigenous, localized solution for indigenous, localized problems. It's actually having a different perspectives towards to the problems that we are facing. So, for example, back in 1996 in Ethiopian calendar, we had a youth policy in Ethiopia. It was actually addressing the issues back then in the season, but it has been not ratified or declared for the past 18 years. And just few years ago, Ethiopian Youth Council was established to actually address the current issue. So speaking of innovation, we should not like focus on only the technology part, but we have to focus on the system part or the problem that we are currently facing. Well, in the other hand, speaking of the leadership is about the transformational agency. It is a mindset shift from, becoming a passive recipient of the decision imposed on us to a proactive participant of the decisions and agendas that is being designed. So it's not about the skills, it's actually bringing the skills into a practical transformational methodology that actually addressing the issue of the young people. So coming back to the question, the original question regarding the ownership, I think ownership is not a symbolic way or nominality, it's actually structural engagement in the youth. It takes an entrepreneurial leadership who understand the trajectory of the system in Africa. It is an innovative approach that actually reinforces all bodies who are actively engaging in the youth development. So speaking of the trajectory of Africa, I think it depends on how we are decisive in addressing the voice of the youth. So we have got Agenda 2063. In the coming years, unless otherwise we address the voice of the young people, it could be a political issue, it could be economic issues, whatever the issues that young people have, incorporating those voices into the practical agendas that is being designed, either in the aspiration or in the goals, we need to decisively come into point on the consensus that the young voice are matter. That's the way it is, I guess.
Okay, thank you so much, panelists. We do have a very good number of youth here, so I hope you are really engaging well, because we expect a lot of questions from you, because a lot of different perspectives from different panelists have been raised here. So before you put your mic down, Ambassador, I saw that you mentioned this point about innovative leadership, entrepreneurial leadership. And that actually made me curious, and I'm sure our audience is curious as well. So let that be my second question, and please elaborate on that.
Let me do grammar back and forth, English to American, American to English. So back in 2020, በነጮቹ አቆጣጠር ሁለት ስኮላሮች አሜሪካ ውስጥ I think ማክሚለን እና ማክሬዝ የሚባሉ ምሁራኖች አንድ መጽሐፍ ጻፉ entrepreneurial mindset የሚል. One of the chapter in the book was about entrepreneurial leadership. So ይሄ entrepreneurial leadershipን ከጻፉ በኋላ ከ2002 እስከ 2008 ድረስ የተወሰኑ የአሜሪካን ኮርፖሬት ሊደርስ ባንክ ኦነርስ ምናምን ስልጠና ሰጧቸው on entrepreneurial leadership. እንግዲህ 2007 እስከ 2007 ዘገም ያለ ወይም ደግሞ በጣም ስሎ የሆነ ግሮዝ ነበረው ይሄ ኮንሰፕት ብዙ አይታወቅም። ከዛ በኋላ በዓለማችን ላይ አንድ ትልቅ happen አረገ the global recession አይደለ የፋይናንሻል ክራይሲስ 2008 ላይ። ከዛ በኋላ 2010 11 ላይ በጣም በሚገርም ሁኔታ ብዙ የአሜሪካ ባንኮች ባንክራፕት ሲያደርጉ ብዙ ኮርፖሬቶች ፌል ሲያደርጉ ፌዝ አውት ሲያደርጉ እነኚህ entrepreneurial leaders ግን እንደውም ኤክስፖኔንሻሊ አቅማቸው ቢዝነሳቸው አደገ። ከዛን ኮንሰፕቱ በጣም ኩሪየስ ሆነው ማጥናት ጀመሩ። ሃርቫርድ የመጀመሪያውን አርቲክል ፐብሊሽ ያደረገ። ከዛ እነኚህ ሰዎች በቀጣይነት በጣም ይሄን ነገር ሲያስፋፉ የኒው ሊደርሺፕ ኮንሰፕት የመጨረሻው መዳረሻው entrepreneurial leadership ነው ብለው አስቀመጡ። ስለዚህ ምን ማለት ነው entrepreneurial leadership? An entrepreneur has to be a leader has to be an entrepreneur. That's where innovation is. አያችሁ አሁን ሊደርሺፕ ፐርስፔክቲቭ ያለው ኳሊቲ ያለው ስኪል ያለው ነገሮችን በሊደርሺፕ ማዕቀፍ የሚመለከት at the same time ደግሞ የሎካላይዝድ የሆነውን ፕሮብሌም ኢንጂነር የሚያደርግ መሪ መፍጠር ማለት ነው. So I think this is very important for a continent like Africa because በቢዝነስ በጣም ሄደው ግን የሊደርሺፕ ፐርስፔክቲቭ ካሌላቸው ኢዘር እድገታቸው ደካማ ይሆናል ኦር ደግሞ ውጤታቸው ሰስተነብል አይደለም። ስለዚህ ይሄ የአንተርፕሪኒየር ሊደርሺፕ ሞዴል is actually bring sustainable impact to the future Africa ተብሎ ይታሰባል። especially የ2063 አጀንዳ እውነት ለማድረግ we need to focus on entrepreneurial leaders who understand the business, the entrepreneurship at the same time who has got these qualities. በጣም ዩኒፋይድ የሆነ ዩኒክ የሆነ የሊደርሺፕ ኳሊቲ ያላቸውን ሊደሮች በማምጣት ማለት ነው። ይሄ ውጤት ያመጣ ይመስለናል because currently ለምሳሌ እነ ኤሎን ማስክ ማየት ይቻላል entrepreneurial leaders ሌሎችም አውሮፓ ውስጥ የሚገኙ አሉ። አፍሪካ ውስጥ እነ ዳንጎቴ በጣም በዚህ ነገር እየታዩ እየመጡ ይገኛሉ። so that's the concept we need to introduce especially to address the issue of the future Africa regarding the agenda 2063.
Okay, thank you Ambassador. So I want to make my questions follow-up questions regarding the points that you have mentioned earlier from the first question. So let me take the question to Samia, and you mentioned how it is very important to actually address problems that are at the grassroots level in order to actually solve the bigger problems that our continent is facing. So regarding this, today we are actually commemorating the African Day with the theme of visionary leadership for inclusive education. So with that, how can entrepreneurial mindset can be integrated into formal education system?
Okay. So I personally entrepreneurial leadership አስተምረህ የምታመጣው ነገር ነው ብዬ አላምንም። አንዳንድ ሰዎች አሉ አይደል ሊደር ለመሆን የተፈጠሩ ሰዎች አሉ። ሶ እነሱ ላይ በደንብ መስራትም ፓራሌሊ በጣም አስፈላጊ ነው ብዬ አምናለሁኝ። ያው ኤጁኬሽኑ ብቻ አስፈላጊ ነው ብዬ ስለማላምን ማለት ነው። ምክንያቱም ስኪል በጣም ኢምፖርታንት ነው። ስኪል ተሰጦች ቤት ውስጥ በጣም የሚረብሽ ከትንሽነቱ ጀምሮ ይሄ ሞንቶሶሪ ኤጅ ከምንላቸው ጊዜ ጀምሮ ያሉትን በደንብ ካልቲቬት እያደረግን ማሳደግ የምንችል ከሆነ ብዙ ሊደሮች ማውጣት እንችላለን እና ኤጁኬሽን ብቻ ሳይሆን ስኪልም በጣም ኢምፖርታንት ነው። ከዚህ ፓራሌሊ ግን እኔ ፐርሰናሊ የሚሰማኝ ነገር አንዳንዴ እንደ አፍሪካ እንደ ኢትዮጵያም ስናስብ ችግር እያልን የምናወራቸው ነገር ተፈተውስ ቢሆን are we sure like አንዳንዴ የተለመደ ፕሪያምብል ላይ የሚጻፍ ባክግራውንድ ላይ የሚጻፍ በጣም ረጅም ጊዜ የሆነው እንትን ችግር ምናምን ከ10 አመት ከ20 አመት በኋላ አስቀምጠነዋልና ሜቢ ዶነሮቻችን ያው ዚስ ዶነሮች ምናምን ላይኖሩ ይችላሉ። ዶነሮቻችን ምናምን ችግሩን ለመፍታት መኖራቸው አስፈላጊ ነው። ነገር ግን የተፈታ ችግርም እየደበደብን እንዳይሆን ብዬ አንዳንዴ እሰጋለሁኝና አሁን ላይ አስተውላችሁ ከሆነ ትምህርት ፍላጎቱም ተፈላጊነቱም ገበያውም በጣም እየወረደ ነው የመጣው። ቀደም ኳስ በመሬት ያልኩት ይሄንንም ለማገናኘት ስለፈለኩ ነው። ምክንያቱም እዛ ጋር አድቫንሲንግ ጀስቲስ ትሩ ኖሌጅ ኤንድ ኢምፓወርመንት ይላልና ኖሌጅ እና ኢምፓወርመንት ኢምፖርታንት ነው። አም ሶሪ ኔጌቲቭ ሳይዱን ለማየት ብቻ የሞከርኩ ሳይሆን ነገር ግን ቀጥታ do we really know the problem ምንድነው የሚያስፈልገው ፕሮብለም የሚለው ምን ያህል እርግጠኞች ነን? የኖሌጅ እና የኢምፓወርመንት ችግር ነው ችግሩ በጣም ብዙ ኢምፓወር የሆኑ ሰዎች አሉ መሬት ላይ አይደለ? ሶ ይሄ አፍሪካ ዴይ ጋር ስናገናኝ ኢምፓወር የሆኑት ሰዎች ምን ተፈጠረላቸው ላይክ ምን አገኙ የሚለውም ጥያቄ ነው። እነሱስ ደግሞ ኢምፓወርመንታቸው ስኬት ነው። ምክንያቱም እኔ ብሪጅ ስለሆንኩ መሀል ላይ ሆኜ ነው ስቴክሆልደሮች ፓርትነሮች አሉኝ፣ መንግስት፣ ዴቨሎፕመንት ፓርትነር፣ ፕራይቬት ሴክተር፣ ኤንጅል ኢንቨስተር፣ ቬንቸር ካፒታሎች ምናምን ፓርትነሮች አሉኝ። በእነሱም ጫማ በባንኮቹም ጫማ አስባለሁ። በዚህ በኩል ደግሞ ወጣቱንም ማየት ፈልጋለሁኝና ለዛ ነው ብዙ ጊዜ መሀል ላይ ሆኜ ነገሮችን ለማየት የምሞክረው። ሶ ወጣቱ እየሰጠ ነው የሚያስፈልገውን የሚጠበቅበትን ነገር ከእንደገና ደግሞ መጫወቻ ኢነብሊንግ ኢኮሲስተም የምንለውስ ደግሞ አለ ወይ? ካለስ ደግሞ ማን ነው ዩቲላይዝ እያደረገበት ያለው? ወይ ደግሞ የተሰጠንንስ እድል በአግባቡ ዩቲላይዝ እያደረግነው ነው ወይ የሚለውን በደንብ ብንጠያየቅበት እና በደንብ ብናስብበት ብናወራበት ይሻላል። ያንግ ፒፕል እዚህ ውስጥ ያላችሁ በመጀመሪያ ደረጃ አታካብዱ። ምንም የሚካበር ነገር የለውም። ቀለል አድርጉትና እስቲ ምንድን ነው የምትፈልጉት? ኦኬ ከዛስ ምን አላችሁ? በዛ አጋጣሚ ምን አለሽ የሚል አምለሰት ሙጬ የምታውቋት ከሆነ የአርቲስት ቴድሮስ ካሳሁን ባለቤት የሰራችው ፊልም አለ። ዩቲዩብ ላይ ግቡና እዩት። በጣም ከአማርኛ ፊልም የምወደው ፊልም ነውና እዩት። ምን አለሽ ይላልና መርካቶ ላይ ነው የተሰራው ፊልሙ። አንዳንዴ ያለን ነገር ዩቲላይዝ ማድረግ ሲጠበቅብን የሆነ ሰው ስላረገው ኦር የሆነ ቦታ ሀፕን ስላረገ ያንን ለመሆን የሆነ የሰፋ ጫማ ውስጥ ገብተን እየዋኘን እንዳይሆንና ቀለል አድርጋችሁ ወደ ራሳችሁ ተመልክታችሁ ኢንጆይ ለማድረግ ሞክሩ። ታለንታችሁንም ይሁን ያላችሁንም ነገር በማቴሪያልም ሊሆን ይችላል፣ በሰውም ሊሆን ይችላል፣ በሁሉም ነገርና ይሄን አፍሪካ ቀን ስታከብሩ ራሳችሁን እያያችሁ ብታከብሩ አንተርፕረነራል ማይንድ ሴት ሆነ። ቅድም እንዳልኩት ሁሉም ሰው ሊደር እንደማይሆነው ሁሉም ሰው ነጋዴ፣ ሁሉም ሰው ባለ ቢዝነስ መሆን አይችልም። ሶ ቢዝነስ ላላቸው ሰዎች ኮፋውንደር መሆን እንችላለን። ዩ ኖ ዋት አይ ሚን። ሶ ቅድም የአፍሌክስ ፕሬዝደንት እየተናገሩ ነበረ በጣም ደስ በሚል ቶንና ሊደርሺፕ ኢት ኒድስ ኮሚትመንት ፐርሲስተንሲ እና ደግሞ ኢት ኒድስ ኤቭሪዴይ ስራ ይፈልጋል። ቴንክ ዩ።
Thank you, Samia, for the clarity. You've mentioned that the skills are very important for the youth to be empowered. So with this, let me take the question back to Mr. Daniel. So as an academician, Samia also mentioned that the skill is very important for the youth to be empowered. So as an academician, how can the 21st century skills, needed skills, can be embedded into university and college curriculums so that they could actually fit the needs and wants of the young people? የሚለው ጥያቄ ይሆናል ማለት ነው።
እሺ መልካም። ትምህርት፣ ክህሎት፣ ዩኒቨርሲቲ፣ ኮሌጅ የሚሉ ቃላቶችን አንስተሃል። ስለ ትምህርት ሄድበታለሁ። ትንሽ የኬንያውን ስኮለር ሜንሽን ላርግና መነሻ ይሆነኛ አሊ ማዝሩይ አንዳንዶቻችሁ ልታውቁ ትችላላችሁ። በጣም ፓወርፉል የሆነ አባባል አለው። አፍሪካ produces what it doesn't consume and consumes what it doesn't produce ይላል። በጣም የሚያሳዝን ነገር ነው። እንግዲህ ይሄ ሚስማች ምንድነው ሪፍሌክት የሚያደርገው ብለን መጠየቅ አለብን። እስካሁን ድረስ እንግዲህ አልተውንም። ቴክኖሎጂውን ኢምፖርት እያደረግን ነው፣ ካልቸራል ኮንቴንት ኢምፖርት እያደረግን ነው፣ አይዲያ ኢምፖርት እያደረግን ነውና ያለንበት ሂደት ይሄን ይመስላል። ከዛው ጋር ተገናኝቶ ደግሞ ፕሮፌሰር ፕሎ ሉሙምባ ፕሮፌሰር ፔኒና ምላማን ጠቅሶ የአፍሪካ ወጣቶች ምንድነው እያጋጠማቸው ያለው ነው አንደርላይን አድርጎ የሚያወራው ትራጀዲ ኦፍ አፍሪካ የሚለው ስፒቹ ላይ የአፍሪካ ወጣቶች ስኪዞፍሬኒክ ናቸው። ስኪዞፍሬኒያ እንግዲህ በጣም ክሪቲካል የሆነ ሜንታል ኢልነስ ነው። ዲሉዥን እንድንሆናለን። አህጉሪቷ ምንድን ነው ያላት የሚለውን ነገር አናቀውም። ከየት ተነስተን የት መድረስ እንዳለብን አንረዳም። በእንደዚህ አይነት ሁኔታ ውስጥ እየተሰጠ ያለው የትምህርት ስርዓት ምንድን ነው? ስለዚህ የዩኒቨርሲቲዎቻችን ኮሌጆቻችን እስከዛሬ እንግዲህ በጣም ዱዌል ያደረጉበት ስርዓት ይሄ ሮት ሜሞራይዜሽን ፋክት ሜሞራይዜሽን እዛ ላይ ነው እስካሁን የተኛ ነው። ስለዚህ ሺፍት ያስፈልገዋል። ወደ ክሪቲካል ቲንኪንግ ኮምፒተንሲ ቤዝድ ኤጁኬሽን መግባት ይኖርባቸዋል። የተሻለ ትውልድ መፍጠር የሚችል ትውልድ ክሪቲካል ቲንኪንግ ክህሎት ያለው፣ የዲጂታል ሊትሬሲ ክህሎት ያለው፣ የክሬቲቪቲ ክህሎት ያለው ትውልድ ወይም ወጣት በዩኒቨርሲቲዎች ገብቶ መውጣት፣ በኮሌጆች ገብቶ መውጣት ይጠበቅበታል። ሳሚያም እንዳለችው የአንተርፕረነርሺፕ ቲንኪንግ ይሄም ክህሎት ከሌለው የነበርንበትን ትራዲሽናል የሆነ የመማር ማስተማር ሂደት ላይ የምንቆይ ከሆነ አሁንም ማሳካት የምንችለውን የልማት ግቦች ለማሳካት ጥያቄ ውስጥ ነው የሚወድቀው። እንዴት ነው ታዲያ ይሄንን መቀየር የምንችለው ነው? አንደኛ የካሪኩለም ኮክሬሽን ዊዝ ኢንዱስትሪ፣ ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች ከኢንዱስትሪዎች ጋር ፓርትነር አድርገው አብረው መስራት ይጠበቅባቸዋል ነው። ከቴክኖሎጂ ማዕከላት ጋር ቴክኖሎጂ ሀብስ አሉ በአህጉሪቷ በተለያየ ቦታ። ከኢንዱስትሪዎች ጋር አብሮ የሚመጥን ፓርትነርሺፕ ፈጥረው የሚመጥን የሆነ ካሪክለም ዲዛይን በማድረግ የትምህርት ስርዓቱ በዛ መንገድ ካልሄደ ለውጥ ለማምጣት ያስቸግራል። በዚህ ረገድ ሩዋንዳ ጥሩ ተምሳሌት ነች። እንግዲህ ካርኔጊ ሜለን ዩኒቨርሲቲ የሚባል አላት። ይሄ ዩኒቨርሲቲ በፈጠረው ፓርትነርሺፕ በጣም ዓለም ላይ ያሉ ግሎባል ቴክ ካምፓኒስ አሉ። ጉግልን፣ ፌስቡክን መውሰድ እንችላለን። ተማሪዎቻቸው ከነኚህ ከካምፓኒዎች ጋር አብረው ሄደው እንዲማሩ እንዲሰለጥኑ የዲጂታል ስኪላቸው በጣም ከፍ እንዲል በማድረግ እነኚህ ወጣቶች ተመልሰው የአፍሪካን ዲጂታል ትራንስፎርሜሽን ግብ እንዲያሳኩ ትልቅ አስተዋጽኦ ያደረጉበት ሂደት አለ። ስለዚህ ካሪክለሙም ሲቀረስ ከኢንዱስትሪዎች ጋር ከቴክኖሎጂ ሀቦች ጋር አብሮ መጓዝ መቻል አለበት። ሁለተኛው ዲጂታል ቱልስን እና ፔዳጎጂን አንድ ላይ ኤምብሬስ ማድረግም ያስፈልጋል። የትምህርት ተቋማቶቻችን፣ ዩኒቨርሲቲዎቻችን፣ ኮሌጆቻችን በአህጉሪቷ ውስጥ ያሉት የመማሪያ ዘዴዎች ከአይሲቲ ጋር አብሮ ማስተሳሰርም ይጠበቅብናል። ጉድ ኤግዛምፕል ኬንያም ማንሳት እንችላለን። እንግዲህ አህጉራዊ ጉዳይ እያነሳን ስለሆነ የተለያዩ ሀገራቶችን ፒክ እያደረግን በምሳሌነት እያጣቀስን ብናወራ መልካም ነው። አጂራ ዲጂታል ፕሮግራም ይባላላቸው ኬንያዎች። በዚህ ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች ጋር በጋራ በፓርትነርሺፕ ከመስራታቸው የተነሳ የኬንያ ወጣቶች የኦንላይን የስራ ክህሎት እንዲያዳብሩ ትልቅ እድል የተፈጠረላቸው ሁኔታ አለ። ስለዚህ ይሄንን ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች በሌሎች የአፍሪካ ሀገራት ያሉ ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች እንዲህ አይነትን ተሞክሮ ቢወስዱ መልካም ነው። ሌላው እንግዲህ መፍጠር የሚችል ትውልድ እንዲመጣ ከተፈለገ ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች ሶፍት ስኪልን ከላይፍ ስኪል ጋር አንድ ላይ ኢንቴግሬት ቢያደርጉ ቢያጣምሩ በጣም ይመከራል። እንደምታውቁት የአፍሪካ ልማት ባንክ አለ። ቲቪቲዎች ላይ ሪፎርም እያደረገም እየሰራ ያለበት ሁኔታ አለ። ይሄ በዋነኝነት ምንድነው የቴክኒካል ኖሃውን እውቀትን ከሶፍት ስኪል ከላይፍ ስኪል ጋር ማገናኘት። ለምሳሌ የኮሚኒኬሽን ስኪላችን፣ የኢሞሽናል ኢንቴሊጀንስ ስኪላችን ምን ያህል ከተግባቦት ጋር ስሜትን ከመግራት ጋር እንደዚህ አይነት ነገሮችን አንድ ላይ በማጣመር የመስራት ነገር አለ። በዚህ ቱኒዚያ የተሻለ ቲቪቲዎቻቸው ላይ የናሽናል ሪፎርም ያደረጉበትና ለውጥ እያዩበት ያለ ሁኔታ አለ። እነኚህ ነገሮች ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች፣ ኮሌጆች ቢከተሉ በሀገሪቱ ያሉ መልካም ነው። በስተመጨረሻ አንተርፕረነርሺፕ ፕሮብለም ሶልቪንግ ስኪል በጣም ወሳኝ ነው። ካሪክለማችን ፈጠራን፣ ዲዛይን ቲንኪንግን ይሄን ማበረታታት ይኖርበታል። በዚህም ጋና ላይ ብንሄድ የአሼሲ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ያላቸው ጋና ትልቅ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ያላቸው በዚህ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ውስጥ በካሪክለም ውስጥ ኤቲክስ አለ። ስነ ምግባር ወይም ግብረ ገብን ከአመራር ክህሎት ጋር ከስራ ፈጠራ ጋር አንድ ላይ አዋቅረው ይሄንን ሁሉም የድህረ ምረቃ የቅድመ ምረቃ ተማሪዎች እንደ ኮምፐልሰሪ ኮርስ እንዲወስዱ በማድረግ ሁለገብ የሆነ እሳቤ ያላቸው ወጣቶች እንዲመረቁ ከዛ ዩኒቨርሲቲና ለስራውም ጥሩ ግብአት እንዲሆኑ ሰርተውበት የዩኒቨርሲቲው ግራጁዌትስ በተመረቁ በጥቂት ወራት ውስጥ የተለያየ ተቋማቶች ውስጥ የስራ እድል ያገኙበት ሂደትም አለ። ስለዚህ የዲዛይን ቲንኪንግ ስኪል፣ የአንተርፕረነርሺፕ ስኪል፣ ፕሮብለም ሶልቪንግ ስኪል ላይ የበለጠ ዩኒቨርሲቲዎቻችን፣ ኮሌጆቻችን ቢሰሩ ጥሩ ውጤት ማምጣት ይቻላል።
Thank you so much, Daniel. While keeping the mic there, let me take the question back to Ambassador. You've mentioned in the last question that in order to actually achieve the African Union Agenda 2063, young people should be at the forefront. So connecting this to our theme of the day, how is the Agenda 2063 shaping education policy across member states?
That's actually a good question. Let me share an experience from our organization, SafeLight. So one of the initiatives that we have in SafeLight is ULEAD program. I'm pretty sure some of you have been participated in the ULEAD program. So ULEAD is actually a unique platform which designed to develop young emerging leaders and young emerging diplomats. So we provide adequate skills, awareness, and exposure for young leaders to understand what's going on locally, nationally, and continentally, of course, across the globe. So what we do in SafeLight in the ULEAD initiative is fascinating because when they sign up, we actually give them a training on national sectoral plan. What is the aspiration of this government? We need to understand, because in order to actively engage in the continental agendas, first we need to understand and actively onboard for the national sectoral plan, including the education policy. We need to be aware what is the aspiration of this government. So we provide, different workshops, exposures, and they have to come up with certain, mock projects on that regard. Then once they understand their national interest, they will be ready enough to actually engage with the continental issues, which is the Agenda 2063. So having, your own interest, having an understanding of your own nation, then you can come up with an innovative approach which actually bring all fellow Africans to you. For example, let's bring one example. Addis Ababa University. Addis Ababa University established ከተደረገ I'm pretty sure ከ75 ዓመት በላይ ነው። እንደዚህ ሲደረግ አሁን አዲስ አበባ ዩኒቨርሲቲ የቀድሞ እንግዲህ ኃይለሥላሴ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ሲቋቋም አስፓይሬሽኑ በሎካል አጀንዳ ብቻ ከተያዘ የአጀንዳ 2063ን አስፓይሬሽን ሚት ማድረግ አይችልም። ምን ማለት ነው? በሚሰጣቸው የኤዱኬሽን ፖሊሲዎች ውስጥ አትሊስት ሪጂናሊ የአፍሪካን ቀንድ አድሬስ የሚያደርግ የኤዱኬሽን ፖሊሲ እነሱን የሚያመጣ የሚያቅፍ የኤዱኬሽን ፖሊሲዎችን ረን ካደረገ that's how we actually meet the continent agenda. When was the last time we actually offer scholarship for, South Sudanese, Somalilanders, Somalians? You see, those questions should be on board. የኛ ሀገር ጥሩነት የሚለካው continentally በሚኖረን ሮልም ጭምር ነው። So whatever we do, we can actually design the policy, the system, the syllabus, the curriculum, not only for us, but also accommodating the rest of Africans. አስተማሪዎቻችን ለሎካል ተማሪዎች ብቻ ሳይሆን ለሪጅኑም የተዘጋጁ ፍላጎታቸውና አስፓይሬሽናቸው አዲስ አበባ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ብቻ አስተምራለሁ ሳይሆን ወጣ ብዬም ሳውት ሱዳን ሄጄ አስተምራለሁ፣ ታንዛኒያ አስተምራለሁ፣ ሩዋንዳ ሄጄ አስተምራለሁ ብሎ የሚል አስፓይሬሽንን ክሬት ማድረግ አለበት። ለዚህ ደግሞ እንዳልኩትኝ የአጀንዳውን አስፓይሬሽን በደንብ ማጥናትና ከሱ አንፃር ራስን ማዘጋጀት ያስፈልጋል። ከዛን አለፍ ሲል የኤስዲጂ ጎልስ ይመጣሉ። one of the SDG goal እንግዲህ እንደምታውቀው ጎል 4 ኳሊቲ ኤዱኬሽን። የኳሊቲ ኤዱኬሽን ታርጌቶች ምንድናቸው? ኢንዲኬተርስ ምንድናቸው? እነሱን in every higher level institutions አቺቭ እያደረግናቸው ነው ወይ ብለን በደንብ መፈተሽ ኢቫሉዌት ማድረግ ከዛን ያንን ኢምፕሩቭ እያደረጉ በደንብ የግሎባል ጎሉ ሚት ማድረጋችንን ማረጋገጥ ያስፈልጋል። ለሱ ደግሞ not only with the policy but also ታች ያሉ grassroots level ላይ ያሉት ኢምፕሊመንተሮች aligned መሆን ይጠበቅባቸዋል። awareness ያስፈልጋል። በመጨረሻ ያው recently we have joined the BRICS Alliance partnership እሱ ውስጥም ያሉትን 5 አጀንዳዎች በደንብ አድርጎ ማጥናት ማወቅ ፍሬምወርኩን መያዝና አዶፕት አድርጎ ሎካላይዝ አድርጎ ኮንቴክስቹአሊ ለሀገራችን በሚሆን መልኩ በማምጣት መጠቀም ያስፈልጋል። እንደዚህ ስናረግ one we can prepare a generation who is ready not only for the national issues but also for the continent and the global issues. Two, we can ችግሮችን በቀላሉ መፍታት የሚችል ቅድም ሳሚያ እንዳነሳችው በጣም ትንንሽ በሆኑ አጀንዳዎች የተያዘ ሳይሆን አለፍ ብሎ ኢኖቬቲቭ ሆኖ ኢትዮጵያ የምትሰጠውን በረከት ብቻ ሳይሆን ዓለም የኔ ነች ብሎ የሚያምን ትውልድ መፍጠር ይቻላል በዚህ ሁኔታ። ስለዚህ ኤዱኬሽናችን ላይ ከሰራን ከነኚህ አጀንዳዎች አንፃር መስራት አለብን። የመጨረሻ ቲፓፕ ለማድረግ እነኚህ ብቻ ሳይሆኑ አጀንዳዎቹ አሁን ዘመኑ እየመጣ ያለውን የዲጂታል ኤራም ደግሞ በጣም አንደርስታንድ የሚያደርግ የኤዱኬሽን ፖሊሲ የሚያስፈልገናል ብዬ አስባለሁ። I mean like ለምሳሌ ዲጂታል ጋጀቶችን ከትምህርት ቤት እያወጣን I don't think so we can achieve the quality education that we are aspiring. ግን ምን ማድረግ እንችላለን? ቴክኖሎጂን፣ ኢኖቬሽንን፣ የኤአይን ኮንሰፕት፣ የዲጂታላይዜሽንን ኮንሰፕት በደንብ ኢንኮርፖሬት እያደረግን ለሱ የተዘጋጀን ትውልድ መፍጠር ከቻለን ግሎባሊ በጣም ኢንፍሉዌንስ ማምጣት እንችላለን። ኮንቲኔንታሊ ደግሞ ያየነውን አስፓይሬሽን አቺቭ ማድረግ እንችላለን ብዬ አስባለሁ።
Thank you for the answer. Now let me take back the question to Samia. I was really interested when you mentioned how creating an enabling ecosystem is very important to actually create a sustainable impact for our entrepreneurs. So regarding this, today I believe that we have different stakeholders here as participants, representative from government offices, from private sectors and others. So what do you think should be their role?
I think ለምሳሌ I don't know ይሄ ቤት የሚገዛው ነገር አለ አይደል ሚስ መሰረት ምንድነው የምትገዙት? ከአውትሳይደር ምን ትገዛላችሁ? ምንም አትገዙም። ያ የምትገዙት ሰርቪስ ምንድነው? ኖሌጅ ከውጭ በቃ ግዟቸው። ከወጣቶቹ ማርኬት ስጧቸው። በቃ ግዟቸው። you know what I mean? ከስቴክሆልደር you know this ከስቴክሆልደሮች እንትን አርጉላ ማነው ማርኬት ፕሮዳክት ማርኬት ፊት ያስፈልጋል ማለት ተማሩ በቃ ቅጠሯቸው። ፕሮዳክት አላቸው ግዟቸው። ሰርቪስ አላቸው ግዟቸው። you know what I mean? so stakeholder እስከሆነ እኔ ነጋዴ ነኝ I'm sorry ማውራው ስለ ዩዝ ኢኮኖሚክ ኢምፓወርመንት ነው። ስለዚህ አሸቅሏቸው በቃ ከዛ ገንዘብ ጀነሬት ያደርጋሉ። it's no more I'm so sorry like አካል ጉዳተኛ ምናምን እየተባለ እንደሚወራው አይደለም። ሁሉም ሰው በራሱ አቅም አልጋ ላይ ሁሉ ተኝቶ የሚሸጥ ነገር አለው you know I personally እንደዛ ነው ማምነውና ወጣቱም ወጥቶ ሐሳቡን ሽጦ ያለውን ሽጦ መኖር ነው ያለበት you know so ሌላው ፖለቲከኛው ስራው ፖለቲካ ስራ ነው that's his business ሶሻል ላይ የሚሰራውም እንደዛው ነው። ግን when we are talking about entrepreneurship እኔ የሚመለከተኝ I'm leading the Youth Entrepreneurs Association እኔ የሚመለከተኝ የኔ ሜምበሮች ግራንትፕረነር ሳይሆኑ አንተርፕረነር ሆነው ፒች ዴካቸውን ይዘው እየዞሩ እንዲለምኑ ሳይሆን ያመረቱትን ነገር ነጋዴዎች ናቸው። ፈንድ አይደለም የሚያስፈልጋቸው ብድር ነው you know ሽጠው በቃ መነገር ነው ያለባቸው። so this is my expectation. Thank you.
So due to the limited time that we have, I'm going to give each of my panelists 1 minute to answer our last question. So our last question is, what should be the one bold move that the youth of Africa should take in order to harness our continent's innovative future?
ፈታበሉ
እንግዲህ የአፍሪካ ወጣቶች የሳሚያ ፈታ ብሎ አልገባኝም። ኦኬ እንግዲህ ያው ምን ያርጉ ነው የአፍሪካ ወጣቶች ወይም ምን ይጠበቃል ነው። አካታች የሆኑ እንግዲህ የቴክኖሎጂ መር የሆኑ ድርጅቶችን ተቋማትን በጣም በመገንባት ረገድ ትልቅ ሚና መጫወት አለባቸው። ኢቨንቹሊ የምናወራው ስለ ኮንቲኔንታል ዲቨሎፕመንት ከሆነ እዛው ድሃ ሆነን ቅርቃሮች ውስጥ እንዳንቀር የምናወራ ከሆነ ሲሪየስሊ እና የአፍሪካ ቀንን ዝም ብለን እንደው አክብረን አንድ ቀን ተሰባስበን እዚህ ምሳ በልተን የመበተን ጉዳይ አድርገ ነው በጣም ሪዲኩለስ የሆነ ነገር የምናወራ ካልሆነ በስተቀር የአንድ አህጉር እድገት ወይም ልማት እንዲሳካ ኢንስቲትዩሽንስ ማተር ያደርጋሉ። ተቋማት ግንባታ ነው። ያደጉ ሀገራት ያደጉት ምንም የተለየ እንትን ኖሮ አይደለም፣ ኢንስቲትዩሽናቸውን ስለገነቡ ነው። አፍሪካ አህጉር ውስጥ ያሉት ችግር ኤክስትራክቲቭ የሆኑ ኢንስቲትዩሽንስ አሉ። ያደገው ዓለም ላይ ደግሞ ኢንክሉሲቭ ኢንስቲትዩሽንስ አሏቸው። ስለዚህ ወጣቶች እነኚህን ኤክስትራክቲቭ ኢንስቲትዩሽንስን ቻሌንጅ ማድረግ ይጠበቅባቸዋል። አካታች የሆኑ ተቋማትን መገንባትም ይጠበቅባቸዋል። ይህንን ማድረግ ካልተቻለ ይሄ አጀንዳ 2063 ብንል ኤስዲጂስ ምናምን ብንል እንደው ከወሬ ዘለለ ነገር ላይ መጣ ይችላል። የኢንስቲትዩሽንስ ጉዳይ ነው። እነ አሲሞግሉና የሮቢንሰንን መጽሐፍ ዋይ ኔሽንስ ፌይል ይሄ ላይ ነው ትልቁ ትኩረት የሚያደርገው። በሰሜን ኮሪያና በደቡብ ኮሪያ መካከል ያለው የፐር ካፒታ ኢንከም ልዩነት፣ የዴሞክራሲ ልዩነት የመጣው እዚህኛው ደቡብ ኮሪያ ኢንክሉሲቭ ኢንስቲትዩሽንስ ገንብተዋል፣ እዛኛው ደግሞ ኤክስትራክቲቭ ኢንስቲትዩሽንስ ገንብተዋል። ዛት ኢዝ ዘ ዲፍረንስ። ስለዚህ የተቋም ግንባታ ላይ ወጣቶች የማይሰሩ ከሆነ እንደዚህ የቀልድ የሚሆን ከሆነ ትክክል አይሆንም። ምክንያቱም አህጉሪቷ በተለያዩ ትራፖች ውስጥ ያለች የምታሳዝን አህጉር ነች። ትልቅ አቅምም አላት፣ ትልቅ ሪሶርስም አላት። ነገር ግን 4 ትልልቅ ትራፖች ይዘውናል። ኮንፍሊክት ትራፕ አለብን እንደ አህጉር። የናቹራል ሪሶርስ ትራፕ አለ። ኦይል ምናምን ስላለ ወይም ዳይመንድ ስላለ ሳይሆን እንደ ከርስ የሆነበትና እርስ በርስ ሰዎች የሚገዳደሉበት ሁኔታ ስላለ ናቹራል ሪሶርስም ትልቅ ትራፕ ሆኖ አገሪቷ ወደፊት እንዳትሻገር ያደረገበት ሁኔታ አለ። ላንድ ሎክድ መሆን ከባድ ኔይበርስ ጋር ደግሞ ሌላ የፈጠረብን ትልቅ ችግር ነው፣ እንደ አህጉር ወደፊት አህጉሪቷ እንዳትራመድ። ስለዚህ የባድ ገቨርነንስም በዛው ልክ እነኚህን ትራፖች ለማስወገድ መስራት፣ ዲሲፕሊን እንደሆነ መስራት ከወጣቱ ይጠበቃል። ስለዚህ ወጣቱ የራሱን የሆነ ታሪክ መጻፍ አለበት። አዘርዋይስ ሌላው የጻፈለትን የሚኖር ከሆነ ትክክል አይደለምና በስተመጨረሻ ትልቅ የአፍሪካን ዲክተም አለ፣ ትልቅ አባባል። እሱም በማለት እንግዲህ ልቋጭ። ምን ይላል? አንቲል ዘ ላየን ለርንስ ሃው ቱ ራይት ኤቭሪ ስቶሪ ዊል ግሎሪፋይ ዘ ሃንተር ይላል። ቴንክ ዩ።
እሺ ኦኬ። የመጨረሻው መልእክት የሚሆነው እኔ ለወጣቶች ለፌሎ አፍሪካንስ ያንግ ሊደርስ እዚህ ሁለት ነገር ነው። ሌስ ሲት ዳውን እና ሌስ ስታንድ አፕ የሚል ነው። አምናሹር ስንቶቻችሁ የሂዝ ኤክሰለንሲ ዛዲግ አብርሃ ቪዲዮ የምትከታተሉ? ትላንትም ማታ ላይ ሜንሽን ስናደርገው ነበር ካስታወሳችሁ። ያለፉት 500 ዓመታቶች አንዳንዶቻችንን አፍጥኗል፣ አንዳንዶቻችንን ወደኋላ አድርጓል። ግን the good news አሁን ከዚህ በኋላ የሚመጣው ጉዳይ ፈጠንም ለሚሉት ደግሞ ዘገየንም ብለው ለሚያስቡት እኩል እድልን ይዞ ነው የመጣው። ስለዚህ እኛ አፍሪካውያን ወጣቶች አደራ ምለው let's sit down, reflect the past, understand today, prepare for tomorrow. Let's stand up, engage proactively for the goals we have and for the aspiration we have. ያንን ካላደረግን ከኋላ ያለውን ስተታችንን ካልተማርንበት ሪፍሌክት አድርገን ካላለፍነው እንደገና ደግሞ ዛሬን አንደርስታንድ ማድረግ ካልቻለንና ዛሬን መጠቀም ካልቻለን ለነገ ደግሞ አጥልቀን አብዝተን ፕላን ካላደረግንና ካልተዘጋጀን ትልቅ ሌላ ኦፖርቹኒቲ ሚስ ልናረግ ነው። እሱ ግን ባርኒውስ አለው። ባርኒውሱ ልክ ይሄ the opportunity of the backwardness የሚባለው ኋላ መቅረት እድል የለም። አሁን እንደ ድሮ እነሱ በሞከሩት አይደለም እኛ የምንገባው። እድሉም ስጋቱም ለሁላችንም እኩል ስለመጣ ሚስ ካረግነው ይሄንን ኦፖርቹኒቲ ድጋሚ እድል ላናገኝ እንችላለን። በጣም ያንግ ጄነሬሽን ምናልባት አቨሬጅ እድሜያችን 18.6 አካባቢ የሆነ ኮንቲኔንት ይሄንን እድል ሚስ ሊያደርግ አይገባም ብዬ አስባለሁ። ሶ ሌትስ ፕሪፔር በጣም ዛሬ ላይ ተጠቅመን ብዬ አስባለሁ። ቴንክ ዩ።
amazing message from our panelists, and that will wrap up our panel for today. Thank you, and give one round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you so much. Please celebrate our moderator, Engineer Masfin, with a round of applause. And Your Excellency, can I ask you to join them for a picture, the vice presidents as well, and the representative of the youth, as well as the IGAD regional, yes. Can you please come and join them for a picture? Because I want the youth directly to be remembered on this day. So our international representatives as well. And any other youth group or association, like Abigail mentioned, you work with some youth group. Can you join this picture? And then Samia is here. Do I have any other youth group or association or a disabilities association representative maybe? Or women-led associations, anything? No? Okay. Can I ask tall people to be in the back? Just so there is color, you know? Thank you so much. We're coming just about to the end of the session. በዚሁ አጋጣሚ ትላንትና ወጣቶች የኛ አድዋ በሚልና የፓን አፍሪካን ሐሳብ በሚል እዚህ ስልጣናት ተሰጥቷቸዋል። ትልቅ ምርታ ነበር እሱ። እንዲሁም ዛሬ ደግሞ የመንግስት መስሪያ ቤት ተወካዮች እና የዲፕሎማቲክ ኮሚዩኒቲው እንዲሁም ፓርትነር ኦርጋናይዜሽንስ ሌሎችም ተመሳሳይ ስልጣን አግኝተዋል። በጣም እናመሰግናለን። Thank you so much. You may return to your seats. ስለዚህ በዚሁ ከማመላልሶት ክቡር አቶ ዛዲግ ክሎዚንግ ሪማርክ ዴሊቨር ቢያደርጉልን።
Thank you very much. I think we are grateful to have been graced with the presence of a man from Sakota in Florida, at Abebaw University and George Washington University, of course Kennedy School. I'm sure you are confused, you are all confused. I'm talking about Abebaw Bihonegn, the head of IGAD mission to Ethiopia, and two young men with competing dreams. I just want to make it a little bit, I'm lending myself ፈታ በሉ ስላለች ሳሚያ የሷን ምክር ተቀብዬ ነው ከሰሃልኩ so she's responsible for every mistake that I'm making. ደግሞ since I'm from Raya called አላማጣ እና ሰቆጣ የሚለው ቤት ስለመጣልኝ ነው የተጠቀምኩት። So and she has also electrified our commemoration, our deliberation, very pretty much vibrant, anachronistic of anyone that I have ever met in this kind of conferences. I think it has its own color, right? So I would say it was a very warm African day. It's the first of its kind as far as our institution is concerned. A lot of our staffs have put together their energy, their knowledge into this. I think that my first congratulations goes to Masarat, Wendiye, and other staff. The panelists, of course, it was also quite interesting. They have graced us with their great speech, great reflections, great insights. Of course, including David. His speech was powerful. I was simply trying to mold a part of it. Otherwise, I am always touched by his moving speech. I think this, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the past 500 years, Africa has only been on the receiving end of the global order. You know, if the First World War was an Atlantic Ocean war, the Second World War was Pacific Ocean War. And if there is anything called Third World War, anachronistic of what happened in the past, this will be an Indian Ocean and Red Sea War. So we are at the heart of a global transformation. We are at the heart of competition for a global power, competition for domination of the global order. This has never happened to us, where we have only been the victim, being on the receiving end of the global order. So even geography, geostrategic studies, turning themselves upside down, that Africa is at the map of this great unparalleled change in the making in the global order. And if we are going to claim our rightful place in this change in the making, it can only happen upon making our use ready for the task of the coming century. So I believe the 22nd century is an African century, but it can only be truly an African century. We can make this 22nd century truly an African century, making sure that it doesn't turn out to become a missed opportunity if we work, if we invest on our youth, and if the youth are ready for the task of the day, if their imagination, if their mindset is up to the challenge, up to the gracious opportunity, Africa has never been bestowed with. So I think it's time to ignite our own future. It's time to let our history write itself, the youth being at the center of it. And whenever one thinks of making the youth ready for the task of the day, education comes first in the list of this task of making the youth ready. So I think education is not just a form of enlightenment, is not just a way of making a better livelihood. Education for Africa is also about remapping the unfairly disordered global order as far as Africa is concerned, that only put Africa for 500 years at the receiving end of any global interaction one can possibly imagine. So a young man studying something, a young girl studying something should be the best at whatever she's doing, not just only for her own sake, but for remapping this global order in favor of Africa. Without education, without excellence in education, without a great learning capability, this opportunity that is presenting itself as with will be a missed one. None of previous African generation have been lucky enough, have been bestowed with this kind of opportunity. So we have every chance, every opportunity to turn the table upside down and get rid of this 500-year-old unfair system with a fair, working, functioning system to all humanity living in the four corners of the globe, and that can only happen by a determined generation, a generation that is committed to write a new history, a generation that wants not to change his livelihood, her livelihood, a generation that just don't want to change her vicinity, her village, her country, but the entire global system, the entire global order. And I believe the African youth are capable of doing so. I believe time, history, and geography are meeting at a certain confluence point in a way that no generation before was lucky enough to have faced with. So I believe we have got a food for thought. This is not a task. This is not something we have to think about just because we are here. This is not a celebration. This is rather a challenge. And the fact that we came together here, we have come together here to commemorate the African Day, should give you a challenge of a decade. I believe if I were you, if I were in my 20s, the first thing I would do, and this evening would be to start reading about the global order, Africa, and what I can, as member of the youth, what I can possibly do in this shifting tide. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Mr. President. One, for hosting us, and two, for your very impactful message. and for the amazing work you do with your team at AFLEX. One more round of applause for him and every single member of the team. And I think the whole coordinating and organizing team, along with the team from WAFA Marketing and Communication and Events, deserve a very good round of applause as well. Oh, I think it's Katanya restaurant, right? That provided us with lunch and coffee. The lunch was amazing, right? Right? Katanya, thank you so much. I want to close.
Sure. 1 second. And, I think my warmest gratitude goes for him. He's very light at ease. It's like a performance art, right? I was impressed by his performance. Thank you very much.
Can I shake your hand? Thank you, sir. I take my job at heart, you know, and it's about excellence again. That's exactly what I was going to say. You, in your remark, in your closing, you mentioned about excellence. And not just in education. Minim nagar bitsaru, without excellence, we won't get anywhere, no? I believe I am more than a master of ceremony. I am here to ensure the flawless, seamless flow of the event. And I hope we succeeded today. And you have a witness here. It doesn't matter what you do. I will tell you this. Please give me 1 minute. It doesn't matter what you do. I don't care what you are, what you do. What I care about is whatever you do do it with excellence, in perfection? You know, ሊስትሮ አይታችሁ ታውቃላችሁ? 4 አይነት ደረጃ ያለው ውሃ በጣም ንጹህ ቆሻሻ ያለ መጨረሻ ያጭቃ የሚያነሳው በአራቱም ስቴፕ ነው የሚያጸዳላችሁ ጎበዝ ሊስትሮ ከሆነ you pay him 4 times more አይደል? በቃ እና that's very important. ሌላ ቤጃይ ናክር የሚባል ሰው በጣም ኢንትረስቲንግ የሆነ ሰው ነው. he's an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, I don't know what else he is. እና 2 ቀን በፊት he posted this very interesting ፔጁ ላይ ገብታችሁ ፌስቡክ ላይ ማየት ትችላላችሁ. ድህነት ምርጫ ነው፣ ድህነት እድል ነው የሚል እና ድህነት ይሄ ለወጣቶቹ ሼር ማድረግ ስለፈለኩ ነው። ለኔ እድል ነው ብዬ አላምንም. I think it's a choice. choice ነው ስንል ግን ማለት ነው ሌሎች ኢምፖዝ የሚያደርጉት ነገር እንዳለ ሆኖ how do we use the most important resource in our hands, time. Time and abuse ባደረግነው መጠን we are choosing poverty. How much time do you spend on TikTok, whether you're having fun or you're doing nothing, just scrolling through? I just want to leave this in your mind because እኛ ግማሽ እድሜያችንን ጨርሰናል ኖረናል. I am 47 years old. Yes. Inside I'm 27. ግን እናንተ ከፊታችሁ ስንት ዓመት ነው ያለው? 10 years from now, 15 years from now የት መሆን ነው የምታስቡት? And that's the choice you make today. And I'm telling you, the choice you make today, on especially how you spend your time, determines everything. Whether you are going to be down here or up there. Whether you are going to pull the chair for someone or you are going to be the one I pull the chair for. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. We have just 3 beautiful traditional dance with Tekabal band. They have Orominya, Amarinya, and I think Guragenya dance. Enjoy that. If you feel like it, jump on stage and join them. Have fun. Because she said, Fatabalu. It was an honor serving you. Have a wonderful day. I hope to see you again soon. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Tekabal, please take over now.
Marze
Our Somalian friends, you have to join this dance. Please feel free to join, guys. If you want to shake your shoulders, the ladies, it's beautiful with your best dress. No, young people. Zaga የሚያምር አበሻ ልብስ የለበሰው ልጅ እሱ የኔ መሰለ ልብስ ለብሰ መቻል አለብህ መቻል የለብህም you just go come on ወደዚህ come on it's Africa Day come on let's celebrate Africa with our shoulders join us ladies Zaga, አንበሳው አፍሪካ ዴይ ነው ጥቁር ጃኬት ያደረገው ዛጋ ጥቁር ጃኬት በኋላ join us please Africa Day just come on hey የአፍሪካ ቀን ነው ሴሌብሬት እናድርግ እስቲ ስፔሻችን ሞክረው ገባ በሉ come on yes more dancers on the stage anybody in the mood TikTok ላይ ብቻ ነው እግረ መንገድ Safari.
አምጣልኝ ሶስት ነው አንቺ ሶስት ነው ሶስት ነው
ወደዚህ አምጣልኝ ወደዚህ
ሶስት ነው
ዲጄው ያዝልኝ ምንድነው ኮንፈረንስ አረጋችሁት ነው እዚህ ጋር እንዴ ያኔ መሰለ ጭፈራማ ነው አይ እኔ ይደብረኛል በቃ ነይ እሺ 100 ብር ሸልማችኋል ኑ come on አፍሪካን ነው ሴሌብሬት እያደረግን ያለ ነው ምንድነው መተፋፈር ይሄኔ ኬንያዎች ምናምን ቢሆኑ ገና ሞልቶታል መድረኩን እዛ ጋር ሻሽ ያረግሹ ምንድነው ነጠላ እዚህ ላይ ያረግሹ ኃይለኛ ጨፋሪ ነሽ ዘይታሉ ደግሞ እዚህ ጋር የሆነ ቦታ አይቼ ነበር come on ኑ መቻል የለባችሁም let's just celebrate Africa hit the music DJ let's go መታው ሽከራለው አንተ ራስህ ምዘለው ነው yes the guy ቡኒ ጃኬት አንደናው አልችልም ግን በቃ
አምጣልኝ ሶስት ነው አንቺ ሶስት ነው ሶስት ነው ሶስት ነው ስለሽ ምቾማ
Join. Come on, let's see. Zaga now ሳሚ እናመሰግናለን እንቀጥላለን አንድ ኦሮምኛ አንድ ጉራጌኛ ምናምን እንጫወት ትንሽ ቀጥል እስቲ ሂድ መሄድ የለም እንደ ወዴት ነው ሊቀጥል እኮ ነው ኮምፒውተሩ ስላስቸገረው ነው ኑ ቀጥሉ እኔ ወለኔ ዘፍናለሁ ምንችላ
ለምለም ዳስኩም ግርማ ዘዓሰለው አኽለማይኩም ሙሉ መርዓትን መርዓውን መሳኒቲ ኣለኽንዶ ናይ ምልቲ ዓዲ ተወኒ ሳለም እዛ ኣበባኹም ክትፍተወኒ ሳለም ለምዳስኩም ክትፍተወኒ ሓቢርና ተነቐኒ እዛ ኣበባኹም ክትፍተወኒ ሳለም ለምዳስኩም ክትፍተወኒ ሓቢርና ተነቐኒ እስኮ ሁዳ ላይ ዓበት ወይ مسانتي عديهم ببينن بمحانتي فقر تبرم منابرتي مرقوم لبامات عبيتي كفان الله فريت سقايتي عندكم خبورات ولدي عندكم دقوالا دودي عندكم دقوالا بودي كرما موقوس هاي ملت عدي عندكم خبورات ولدي صاحب عبتزازلخي سبيتي عطر وداج مقطعتي عطر حنا بيت مقامنتي زيت حميد ورك زيت موتي وحلقي بحريتا مستي مشلا زنقادة إذا حويسي ما كلهم زيادة
Hold this down.
مشلا
ፖዝ አሁን የመጨረሻ አንድ ሙዚቃ ስለምናጫውተው ሁሉም ሰው የመድረክ አጥለቅልቆት ተሽከርክሮ ወደ ቤት እንዲሄድ ፈልጋለሁ። እምቢ አይቻልም። ኑ ቀጥሎ ሙዚቃው ኑ ሁላችሁ ማንንም ምንም መደነዝ የለብህም። ዝም ብለህ መሽከርከር ነው። ተነስ ተነስ። አፍሪካን ሴሌብሬት እናድርግ። እስቲ አንድ እንሁን። ኢትዮጵያዊነት ነው ሴሌብሬት የምናደርገው አይደል እንዴ? ተነስ በቃ መቅረጽ የሚቀርጸው አልፈልግም ካሜራማን ሁላችሁ አንዴ እስቲ አንድ ኢትዮጵያን እንያት መድረክ ላይ ሰብሰብ በሉና አንድ ላይ ጉራጌኛ ወይ ወላይትኛ አምጣና አንዴ ቅውጥ አድርገን ነው እንጨርሳለን። ስብ 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 የመጨረሻ አንድ ቀውጠ ነው የምንለያየው። አንድ እስቲ ይሄን ልጅ ብቻውን ይዩት። ነጭ ቲሸርት ያደረገው ልጅ ወጣ በለው ወደዚህ። እስቲ ብቻውን ይዩት አንዴ። ይኸው ትከሻው እንዴት ነው የሚያደርጉት? ይኸው እጃችሁን እስቲ እስቲ ከሱ የሚሻል ሰው አለ? ከሱ የሚሻል ማ እስቲ ና እስቲ ደግሞ የሚሻለውን እንየው። እስቲ የሚሻለው ማን ነው? የሚሻለው ማን ነው? የሚበልጠው አለ? እስቲ ና ቶሎ በል እስቲ የት አለ የሚበልጥ? እሺ እጃችሁን የታል? Go baby. አሁን የመጨረሻ ሙዚቃ ነው። የመጨረሻ ሙዚቃ የመጨረሻ ሙዚቃ
Zena ሶስት ምታሳየው ይጨነቅ መሬቱ I'm